It's the last working day of the week, a Friday, of course, and welcome to the AM News here on the AM Show. My name is Pakwesi Shandov. Quickly, Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali says work on the Tumuhan-Lora Highway will commence next month to ease the discomfort and frustrations that passengers and drivers go through on the highway. He's also revealed the job will be completed within 24 months. JoyNews checks reveal that the highway remains one of the broken promises of government for close to 30 years. Rafiq Salam reports.
All governments in 1993 have made some promises to fix the Wahen-Tumu Highway. As a result of that, over the years, it has always been a permanent feature in the budget of all governments. The cruel reality, however, is that none has been able to carry through their promise and take it to the finish line. The over 170 kilometers highway is always awarded in piecemeal. Its execution has always been bedeviled with delay by the government in honoring certificates for work done by the contractor, and sometimes the contract abrogated due to change in government and later repackaged. Commuters who ply the route over the years always have been asking one question: when will this nemesis be over? Upper West Regional Minister Dr. Hafiz bin Sali, however, renewed their hope, though very few in the region for now will believe him at a meeting with the region of Yoruba and the royal family of Yoruba revealed that work on the Tumuhen-Lora portion of the road will resume next month after a groundbreaking ceremony next week by Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia.
And I'm happy to announce that on the 25th of May 2022, His Excellency the Vice President will be in the region to cut sword for the commencement of the construction of the Tumuhen-Lora Road. The commencement date of the project is 8th June 2022, and the work is expected to be completed within 24 months. I want to assure the people of this region that that road shall be tarred before we go into the 2024 general election.
Dr. bin Sali's disclosure is in response to the call made by the region of Yoruba, now Justice Dina, to ensure that Yoruba gets its fair share of development.
I want to use this opportunity to assure the regent and his people that under my leadership, the Drapa traditional area shall get its fair share of development.
The minister, who also has his ancestral roots from Jiriba Nairi, urged the royals of Jiriba and the Walimairi clan to see themselves as one and closely knit together for the development of their respective communities.
Members of the same family, one portion settled in Drapa and have become Dagabes. The other portion continue to Wa and have become Wales. Because of that, I do not place premium on ethnicity. And that is why my orientation as regional minister is to ensure that we continue to live in peace and harmony.
Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Now, the Forestry Commission says its zeal to plant more trees this year will preserve Ghana's forest reserves. According to the Commission, beyond the growing of the trees to protect the environment, its ultimate goal is to save Ghana's forest reserve from being plundered. Richard Kwejonako has more on this one.
This year's Green Ghana exercise is in two components: planting in the reserves areas of Ghana and off-reserve areas. The Commission says it will be keen at monitoring how people and institutions planted trees and nurture such trees to grow very well. Last year, the region exceeded a target of 400,000 trees and ended up planting 700,000. This year, the region has been given a target of 1.6 million trees, and already the fruit trees and tree seedlings have been distributed to the 4 Forestry Commission districts in the region. Deputy Central Regional Director of the Forestry Commission, Lawrence Fosu, believes in a short period of time, Ghanaians would depend on the trees they themselves have planted and not depend on the country's forest reserves.
We know that we have gazetted forest reserves where a lot of people now find it as a safe haven to undertake illegal activity to change soil. So by planting so many trees off reserve area, we are sure that as time goes on, the number of trees outside the forest reserve will be so much such that nobody will attempt going to the forest reserve to get a case for himself. Because whatever you need for your basic needs, roofing, beds, chairs and other things, you will get it from outside, from where maybe you have already planted. So that is one of the basic ideas. And then we know that the world is in a turmoil because of the climate change. Now farmer cannot just check his planting patterns. The rains are not predictable, very erratic. When it is raining, maybe heavy with floods here and there, and then you can get drought for a long period of time. So in order to reverse this trend, we said we should plant trees. And trees are the only source of our hope.
In this year's exercise, Cape Coast, for instance, will be planting in the off-reserve areas, and already people have come up with requests of fruit trees and tree seedlings to kickstart the exercise. Cape Coast Metro Director of the Forestry Commission, Cynthia Okran, says the Commission is excited at the interest shown in the exercise and they are confident they would exceed their targets.
We are distributing to the schools, institutions, and individual timber operators and individuals, churches, and all those who have shown interest, district assemblies. At the initial stages of the year, we started the advertisement quite on time, so these drew a lot of attention. We have jingles going on and flyers also going around. So in fact, many people have come on board. Those who even didn't get opportunity to hear last year have now heard it and they have been on board. They call day in, day out to come for seedlings. So this year I am thinking it will be of great success even than last year. This year we concentrated more of education on the responsibility of the individuals. So now they understand that it's not just about planting, it's about planting and nurturing growth, and we'll come around to monitor. So we are stepping up on our monitoring activities so that we make sure that we will get much success of what will be planted.
The Commission says it will monitor to assess how well each seedling taken away from the Commission does in the various communities and institutions in Ghana. Reporting for Joy News, Richard Kwejo, Cape Coast.
Maternal and basic healthcare deliveries are expected to improve in the Kpando municipality of the Volta region following the provision of a health center in Aziavi by Carter Charity. Residents of Aziavi and adjoining communities are relieved from traveling to Kpando, the municipal capital, for basic healthcare delivery. There's more in the report by correspondent Fred Kwame Asari.
In a bid to contribute to achieve universal health coverage in the Kpando municipality, the Chief Executive Officer of Atlantic Development Solutions Center, Sebastian Dare, lobbied Qatar Charity for assistance. After feasibility studies across the Kpando municipality, the team agreed to construct a health center in Kpando Aziavi. The structure houses an outpatient department, laboratory, a vaccination room, pharmacy, examination room, wards, delivery room, quarantine room, and washrooms. However, it is not equipped with medical logistics. The assembly member for Kpando Aziavi, Erickson Anka, lauded the initiative but appealed for the facility to be furnished and provided utilities. We are appealing to Qatar Charity to provide the health center with potable water. We are also pleading with the MCE to help connect the facility to the national electricity grid. Mr. Dare expressed his commitment to harnessing development in the Kpando municipality.
It is linked to my long-cherished desire to see communities like those dotted around Kpando to become developed. We didn't decide that because I hail from Jointi, the project should be located in Jointi, but it was taken through a scientific approach research. And it was established that we should leave other communities and locate it here in Aziavi. This is where the need was most felt. Over 100,000 Ghana cedis has been already earmarked for equipment for this building.
The project engineer of Qatar Charity, Ishmael Larry, implored the community and the health directorate to put the facility to good use.
What we want from Qatar Charity is for you to assure us of good maintenance culture. Once you have good maintenance culture, there is no doubt it would be a yardstick for Qatar Charity to keep coming into your community. We are very pleased that the health director is assuring us that whatever had been put down there would be put to good use.
A senior divisional chief of Achiafume, Togbi Asumadu VIII, urged other Akpinis to emulate Mr. Dare's gesture. The health center is expected to augment healthcare delivery in the community and promote maternal health when in full operation. Fred Kwame Asari, JoyNews, Kpando, Aziavi.
Startups in the Ashanti region, owned solely by women, have begun a 6-month business incubation program. The training will equip the participating startups with relevant business development skills and also provide financial support and investment exposure to their businesses. There's more in the following report.
Required conditions for setting up a business in Ghana have thrown many young entrepreneurs out of business. Many startups in the country are confronted with numerous challenges to sustainably thrive, including financial support. Rita Krampa, a corporate trainer, attributes the seeming non-feasibility of these businesses to some entrenched regulations imposed on startups in Ghana. She says the prerequisites, including a residence permit and business advice by these startups, are elusive.
Ghanaians, everybody is being encouraged to go into entrepreneurship, but our rules and regulations are not flexible for them to maneuver. For example, you need to be paying taxes, what are the support you need, the equipment and things that you will need to do the business. If these things are available, a lot of people will want to go into entrepreneurship.
Emanuela Apia, who started her entrepreneurial journey a few years ago, says she is challenged with the wherewithal to survive the economic situation in Ghana.
Green EcoWorks is into plastic recycling, into composite material for construction, furniture and interior design. I've been working on this for some years now. Getting supplies has been a big problem.
Recycle Up Ghana, a business incubator, has over the years been organizing business development training for startups in Ghana. The 6-month training focuses on businesses in the waste, agriculture, sanitation and hygiene, and renewable energy sectors. Project lead Obinche Aqua explains the training sections will equip all female participating startups to scale up.
Basically, the training span from business development. Of course, they need to have their BMC and, of course, their value proposition. We begin with the process of setting their goals, their objectives. Then we move on to getting them into their value proposition, what their business is about, their unique selling proposition that the business has. And then we move on also to the statutory documents, so we will help them register their businesses. If it is approval, FD approval that they need, RGD, whatever it is, we help them get. And also after all, the financials also come in. and the legal aspect of it also comes in.
So far, 12 small and medium-scale enterprises in the Ashanti region have undergone the training under 2 different cohorts. The incubating startups are anticipating a life-changing 6-month program.
After this incubation period, what I'm expecting is that I'll get a lot of capacity building. I will get market linkage, networking, and then financial support.
For Joy Business, Emmanuel Bright Kweku report.
Let's come back to the capital, where traders at one of the largest markets in Ghana, Agboboloshi here in Accra, are complaining of clogged drains and flooding during the rainy season. They say the situation has been compounded by filth in the area. They therefore want city authorities to put the taxes they collect to good use so their trade can be productive. Lois Asari has been engaging them and has come through with this report read to you.
Choked drains and a lot of filth. That's the situation here at Agboboloshi. The result is that whenever it rains, everywhere is inundated with water. This tomato seller, Elizabeth, complains bitterly about how the taxes vendors pay to the AMA are not used to clear the gutters.
Gutters in the first no more degrade that be him. At first in the almost be him na say grade
The AMA used to clean these gutters, but they no longer do so. And so we have to make contributions between 500 and 600 cedis so that we can get our gutters clean and also free from refuse.
4 million. See, at the Bama motor for Ogada funds, so they are 5 million, 6 million. Try take it. Yes, answer tax. International say, yeah, wahana, bibi ba yanka hono. No more try and say, AMA for try tax.
Instead, they give us tickets and take taxes from us, but they don't distill the gutters. And when it rains, this place gets so flooded. You can't even walk through.
So I'm be take what Democrana barricades see on be casa on barricade into normal team no one can't because in Penifono AGBBD into a monty ha got them my
For Santewa, the gutters getting flooded due to the choked drains is a major concern.
The gutters in Agboboloshi are so choked with refuse, so when it rains, the gutters get full, and this area gets flooded. The waste collectors are to be blamed for that.
Mary, a shopper at the Agboboloshi market, believes that people litter the drains on purpose.
Not everyone are the same. Some people can throw it around anyhow. Some people also maybe if there is rubbish gathered any place, some people can add it. If I see ballers gathered around any place, I add my own too. For my advice, maybe it's good for them to provide dustbins in the market. Plenty dustbins in the market so that we can be dropping any rubbish we see. Maybe if anyone see that there is dustbin here, he will put it, he can't get straight down like that.
Kweku, a taxi driver at Agboboloshi market, believes city authorities must step up their work at the market.
That is in there. In fact, AMA for a higher AMA and also on Bayim. But on Bayim, Tebu Hayanya Dawes for no, it made the Jessica.
This is the jurisdiction of the AMA, and it's their duty to keep this place clean. But we, the drivers, rather make contributions for our rubbish to be taken away. If they won't clean the gutters for us, they should at least provide garbage trucks to take the refuse away. This place used to be clean when trash cans were available, but because they are no longer here, people tend to litter around.
Globally, there are about 8.3 billion tons of plastics in the world. Some 6.3 billion tons of that is trash, and Ghana has a lot of it. Lois Asari's report for JoyNews.
Here's where we draw the curtains on today's edition of the AM News and, of course, for the week as well. Do have a pleasant weekend. My name is Pakwesi Shandov. The show continues with Benjamin and Bernice.
Welcome aboard the News Review. We'll be digging into the papers shortly, but let me get this out of the way, yeah? We wish, and who are the we, you'll find out shortly, Professor Paul Kwame Nyame, Chairman of the 10th Board of the Medical and Dental Council, a glorious 82nd birthday. So your outfit is celebrating you for your integrity, dedication to duty, service with humility, sense of patriotism, commitment to discipline, fairness, and respect for the ordinary person, and more. On this auspicious occasion, the Registrar and management of the Council join others to thank God for your life and selfless service to our beloved country, humanity, and the profession. You are deeply appreciated. So, happy 82nd birthday to you, Professor Paul Kwame Nyame, Chairman of the 10th Board of the Medical and Dental Council. Now that we've cleared that, I think it's only fitting to say as well, if you're celebrating your birthday out there, happy birthday to you. God bless. The Daily Graphic this morning, Ashanti Region NPP polls, Wontumi faces stiff contest, and that is a question. Of course, today we're hosting a General Secretary hopeful, one hoping to unseat John Bwedu, Charles Bissu, if you recall. And he already has a secretaryship position in the Western region, but he's looking at the national level now. Look forward to that conversation. But let's get into the story. It's on page 13 of the Daily Graphic newspaper. All right, so we have it here. The contest for the Ashanti Regional Chairmanship of the MPP is gaining momentum with the vetting of the 5 aspiring candidates. And haven't we heard from some interesting personalities? Now, although there are other positions at stake in the upcoming Regional Delegates Conference, the one that is being fiercely contested is the Regional Chairmanship, which has 5 party stalwarts battling it out in a who-is-who affair. Yesterday, vetting of the candidates commenced with the 5 aspiring regional chairpersons. They are the incumbent Bernard Mfibwe-Siako, popularly known as Chairman Wontumi, who is gunning for a 3rd term, a former Ifija Kwabre South constituency chairman, Odeneho Kweku Apia, also known as Chairman Odeneho Kweku Apia, that is Koka. Then a former member of parliament for Ejiso Kwabuno Usu Eduomi, and a former Asokwa constituency chairperson, Robert Asari Bediako, popularly known as Chairman Asari Bediako, and Oheneba Kofi Edum Bewa. What's it with all of these AKAs? Anyway, so that is that. And we've heard from some of them saying that Chairman Wontumi Mfibwe-Siako has not done the party, he's done the party a disservice in many ways, and that he must step aside. Only time will tell how that pans out in the Ashanti region and whether maintaining or booting him out will affect the fortunes of the party in terms of the number of votes they get in their World Bank, that region. Achimota Forest brouhaha. Compensation informed declassification. That's according to Deputy Minister Benito Owusu-Bio. Let's check out some more details of that, also on page 13. And the government has explained that the high amount of monetary compensation needed for land influenced the decision to return the peripherals of the Achimota Forest to the Owu family, the allodial owners of the land. You know, there are different forms of land titles as far as the land law is concerned. The other day, Mr. Jan, the authority, one of the authorities when it comes to land law in Ghana, expatiated on this matter. The Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in charge of Lands and Forestry, Benito Owusu-Bio, who made the clarification, said the return of the peripheral portions of the Achimota Forest to the original owners in lieu of compensation was right because on humanitarian grounds, the Owu family deserves something. So £4,000, what would that be worth in today's money, though? It would be interesting to check. I could do that because they are converters, but £4,000 in the 1920s, thereabouts. And here we are with the peripherals being handed over to them. The interesting bit is moving from 90 plus acres to 190 something, coming back to 90, 118 thereabouts, and now over 300. What exactly has been happening? And that over 300 is about half, the entire patch. Well, are we being told the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Time, like I say, always exposes what is true, what is fact, and what is fiction. Parks and Gardens beautifies roads. Exercise extends to MMDAs. And as we hear it, the Department of Parks and Gardens has started the beautification of road medians, shoulders and roundabouts along selected principal streets in the regional capitals. The exercise, which began about 2 months ago, has already seen the planting of 25,000 seedlings of ornamental shrubs that produce various colors of flowers for beautification. The seedlings also include assorted bedding plants and grass that have the ability to prevent soil erosion. But this also brings to mind another interesting subject. Our parks and gardens, they are almost defunct, all of them. I don't know whether that is the appropriate word to use, but our parks and gardens are a pale shadow of what they were when we started, these projects many decades ago. In fact, per what we know, and I've engaged some of these groups in the past, land meant for parks and gardens over time, politicians, our very politicians, NDC, NPP, have taken over some of these spots. And it is indeed a big problem because you look at when it rains in Accra and the things that happen in Accra, which is why there's been a lot of, a push as far as the Achimota Forest thing is concerned, because you take that away, you change the developments there, and you could be exposing areas like Jowulu, Abelenkpe, leading into the airport area to flooding. So we need these parks and gardens, and not to forget their recreational purposes. But over the years, they've gone to the dogs. Some of them have even been taken over by politicians. We know that. We know that for a fact. So, well, positive developments here, but sometimes I look at these and wonder, for how long? Because we're a knee-jerk reacting country. Oh, then giddy. We're going to do a few things. After a few months, yamutu. Let's check out some other stories in the newspaper. Domahene commends President for Development Initiatives. Accra selected for Global Cities Fund for Migrants and Refugees. Taking a look at that number crunch, about 85 million sub-Saharan Africans are expected to migrate by 2050 due to climate crisis. And that is where we get the brunt of things, because you look at the Western world and what they have contributed to environmental pollution. And now there are carbon pockets and, all of these policies across the globe. And we are now trying to industrialize. And yet the situation seems to have changed because the dynamics the world over, first of all, being in the tropics, if you like, being in the global south, we're faced with this situation where our temperatures are much higher. And so the temperate areas, the global north, they have industrialized, they have created quite a lot of pollution in the course of industrialization. And we are here, we are now trying to do it, but we are bearing the brunt of their actions. So to industrialize or not to industrialize. But I think if we keep tabs on our forest reserves, if we do the right things, look, the Achimota Forest is like the Amazon in Accra. It is the lungs of Accra. We breathe. A lot of what we get is owing to the oxygen produced by some of these areas that feed us. And if we do anything that is inimical to that, we would basically be shooting ourselves in the foot. Other stories that on the back page of the Daily Graphic, 8 arrested for building on earthquake monitoring sites. Now, I just want you to take a quick look at that. We are sick as a country. I simply can't get it. Look, just look at that structure. I'm hoping we can put it back. Look at that. I mean, who constructs? Hey. Anyway, it's just recently that we're talking about the Weja area and some, developments there, but it appears people will simply not listen. We want to see disaster before we come to our senses. Now, the police have arrested 8 persons caught putting up illegal structures at earthquake-prone areas in Accra. The areas located at Oblogo in the Wejagbawe municipality and Tuba in the Gan South municipality in the Greater Accra region straddle the Ghana Geological Survey Authority, that is the GGSA, earthquake monitoring station at Oblogo. The arrests were on the directive of the Deputy Minister of Lands and Natural Resources in charge of mines, George Meku Duka. And George, we hope to see many more of these because there are many more people, and all of those people building on waterways. It doesn't matter. which party they are affiliated to, how much they've contributed to what. Raise those structures down. People will stop doing that. People will stop. Let's move on. Ghanaian Times newspaper now. Let's support Ghana Ivory Coast Cocoa Initiative. Cocoa boss lobbies African countries. And then government remains committed to protecting Achimota Forest. Benito Usubio says so. President calls on investors, entrepreneurs to spearhead growth and development in West Africa. I'm going to do this story because it's one of the major stories. In fact, it's our first big story for today. So let's take a quick look at what the president has been saying. And President Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has stressed the need for investors and entrepreneurs in West Africa to spearhead the growth and development of the region through cross-border business integration and partnerships. At a meeting with the new head of the UBA Bank Ghana, Chris Ofikulu, at the Jubilee House in Accra yesterday, the president said one of the surest ways of achieving accelerated growth on the region was through business integration in the region. Quoting him, he says, "I am a very committed West African and ECOWAS person, and I believe very much that the integration and intercourse of our various businesses is the way to develop our region." He said, "On the part of my government, we are here to support the private sector, indigenous as well as foreign." He said, noting that Nigerian businesses were always welcome in Ghana due to the symbiotic relationship between the two countries. And so those are some developments there. But a story we did yesterday has made its way into the Ghanaian Times newspaper. That's on page 17. 3 arrested for attacking, vandalizing Benya FM. And 2 more suspects have been arrested by the Central Regional Police Command for vandalizing an Elmina-based radio station, Benya FM. The suspects are Michelle Asabre, 25, and Anthony Eshen, 32 years. Interesting, because I think the name of the person affected is Blessing Eshen, unless I am missing something. And this is another Eshen who has also been taken in. The 2 suspects, together with another, Opari Akins, who was arrested earlier, subjected a host of the station to severe beatings. Now, let's hear what the police has to say on this. Confirming the arrest, the Central Regional Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Irene Opong, explained that the suspects who went into hiding were arrested on Wednesday evening. She explained that Akins, who was arrested earlier, admitted the offenses during interrogation and said he went to the station with 2 other suspects. More details of that story in the paper. On the back page, Black Maidens ready for Young Atlas Lionesses. And that's in sports. Ghana's Black Maidens will be in action today as they welcome the Young Atlas Lionesses of Morocco in the first leg final round of the qualifiers for the 2022 FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup at the Accra Sports Stadium at 3 p.m. Now, whereas the Black Maidens pursue a 7th appearance at the World Showpiece slated for India in October, the Young Atlas Lionesses are chasing a ticket to make a maiden appearance. We wish our Black Maidens the very best. Let's move on from there as well. Republic Press this morning. What are they pressing through? Failing to manage natural resources equally breed conflict. And that is the NDPC boss. Republic Press, not NDCP, NDPC. Page 4. Let's look at this. And he's someone I've been speaking to recently, so I want to find out what exactly he is saying in this respect. The Director General of the National Development Planning Commission, Dr. Kojo Essiem Abrampa, has said it is incumbent on Ghana to manage and equally distribute proceeds derived from natural resources in the country. According to him, that is the only way many Ghanaians who feel satisfied and as they stand to benefit from long years of mining natural resources from their communities, towns, and cities. What exactly has he been saying? He says, sometimes I get worried when Ghanaians talk about gains from the petroleum sector being channeled to the free senior high school program. I think that is the most laudable venture because the free SHS is about the youth and they are the future of the nation. He added that available data revealed further that from 2007 to 2013, the poverty level was reduced drastically, but same could not be said of the period from 2017 to 2022 as the reduction level has since been stalled. And I guess this morning, as a youth of the country, if I qualify, because youthful age in different countries spans different things, though there's a global parameter per UN standards. But here's the bit. Young people in this country especially when you talk about things like the e-levy and other forms of taxes. We wouldn't mind if we were seeing our resources being expended to our benefit. But look at all that we are sitting on. And yet we languish in penury, poverty. It breaks my heart when I look at our streets, wherever you go. Yes, you can talk about the little ones, the street urchins from Niger and bordering countries, but our own Ghanaians are there too. I remember working in the Opebia area many years ago, and it used to break my heart because every time, sometimes I would look down from the 5th floor and you would see these children, they come in the gutter, you know, the big one facing Opebia, the Silver Star Towers. They bath there, they eat there, they hawk there for those who sell something, they beg for alms there. What kind of life is that? And yet the law stipulates that the state should protect children. We have failed. We have completely failed in this regard. So let's ensure that our mineral resources are serving the people. But oh, come to think of it, look at the royalties we get. And again, mining, a resource like gold in Ghana has been going on for decades, even in the colonial period, for hundreds of years. Yet this is a finite resource. We don't have an infinite store of gold. It is finite. Yeah, what are we doing with it? We've not been able to get to the point where we are even refining the gold, where we are processing the gold. So it leaves us, it goes to the United Arab Emirates, it goes to Switzerland and other places. Look at Switzerland. It doesn't produce cocoa, does it? But it refines the product and sells it back to us. The nonsense of our mentality. I'm sorry when I use these words, or maybe I shouldn't be sorry, because we have failed generations past, we are failing our generations today, and in fact, we're failing the generations to come. And it is pathetic. How do we think? You have people who have trained in Ivy League institutions, the Oxbridge institutions, Oxford and Cambridge, and all of that. We sit on wealth, yet we are cloaked in poverty. And it makes no sense. No sense at all. Burkina Faso trapped miners, wives heartbroken but praying for miracles. Sometimes I get this passionate because it's just crazy in this country. Anyway, let's look at some other stories. School bus driver gets life imprisonment for sexual assault on 5-year-old pupil. Help reduce dependence on foreign aid, Akufo-Addo charges. But, Mr. President, it should be more than rhetoric. Since we've been talking about Ghana beyond aid, Ghana beyond aid. No country is an island when it comes to aid. Not even the United States. They owe trillions. But what are they doing in terms of bettering the lives of their citizens? Look at the HDIs, Human Development Index. There I go again. Something else that doesn't make sense. So moving us beyond aid is more action rather than talk, Mr. President. Let's see more of that action. And then we can attribute some more seriousness to this. Bank of Ghana governor worries over rising inflation. And that is done and dusted. Republic Press newspaper. Let's look at some other newspapers now, starting with the Daily Guide. Government will protect Achimota forest. And pictured here, some lions inside the Achimota forest. A lioness with her cubs, actually. Soldiers will crush terrorists, says minister. Now, this one is interesting. Pardon me if I am laughing, but a very serious matter. But they say if you live in a glass house, you don't throw stones. So let's look at that. Deputy Defense Minister Kofi Amankwa-Menu has given assurance that the country's security forces are on high alert against any terrorist activities. He has therefore urged the citizenry to go about their duties without any fear. The Deputy Minister disclosed that President Akufo-Addo's administration had properly equipped the security agencies to defend citizens easily against any terrorist group. Let me just focus on easily. Mr. Deputy Minister, some of us have also been spreading the message so that everybody remains cautious. But please, don't paint the picture as though we were in fine position, because we heard from your own outfit, you in particular, and you made mention of the fact that we are not in a good place. That we are not in a good place when it comes to these terrorists, and that we ought to be on high alert and all of that. So let's not paint the picture, especially as a country that has not seen any major terrorist attack. Burkina Faso has. In fact, there was a time when I was in Ouagadougou, I missed, thankfully, a terrorist attack by a whisker. I left a hotel there, and not too long after, there's an enclave. There are lots of terrorist attacks there. The Ivory Coast has seen it. Mali has seen it. Neighboring Togo has seen it. Nigeria is replete with it. Let's not play with this. We don't have the experience. We may have a good military, but there are factors, economic factors, and so many more that we cannot play with. So as you try to reassure citizens, I get you, but let's not play the ostrich. And let's not act as though we would easily handle this, especially without any experience. Let's move on from there. I goofed Kofi Bento. And let's check out that story. Did he really goof? Vice President of think tank Imani Africa, Kofi Bento, says his recent claim that the Achimota Forest Reserve had been sold by government originated from an unreliable source. Mr. Bento, who disclosed this when he was challenged by veteran journalist Kweku Baku Jr. about the veracity of the claim, has since beaten a retreat and even deleted the post from his Facebook page. I think this is a good move, at least per the rhetoric we've been fed with for now. That is not in the offing, and the understanding that has come to us. I think it is also welcoming that when you make a mistake, you apologize. And Kofi Bento beating a hasty retreat on that one is only right. Maybe we would like to see him actually post something saying that, look, I goofed. And that is that. Let's check out the entertainment page of the newspaper. KOD returns to Radio Gold. AJ Nelson drops new single. I'm considering vasectomy. That is Mariah Carey's Nick Cannon. Okay, dude, you go right ahead. The 41-year-old who is expecting his 9th child with girlfriend Brie Tiesi said this to E! News Daily Pop. According to him, although he's blessed with the gifts of children and finds solace in them, he's not looking to populate the earth. After 9, dude, you have the right to your vasectomy. Enjoy. Wizkid to feature on Chris Brown's album. And in other stories, Veep to headline CEOs Summit, and senior economist explains economic hardship. I'm talking about Professor Peter Quarty. On the back page, Kempong Travels is official agency for what? It has been named a leading travel agency in the sports sector as the official travel agency for Ghana's campaign for Qatar 2022 World Cup. And Ghana-Egypt Sports Ministries strike deal. I'll be wrapping up shortly. Let's take a look at some more interesting headlines. The Finder, Wana pledges support for Green Ghana projects. Ghana Police Service calls for calm at Nkoranza. And interestingly, yesterday, Dampare Must Go was trending on Twitter. Makes for interesting reading. But on the back of what he's done, I mean, Dampare has done things that we have not seen as far as the IGP's position is concerned. I remember as far back as Peter Namfuri, some of the good things that were done, but in recent times, I have not seen any IGP do some of the things he has done. And I was having this conversation with somebody yesterday. Of course, you cannot expect that by merely setting an example and doing the things he's doing and whipping people in line, he will just succeed. There are so many bad nuts in the Ghana Police Service. Go back and read some of the reports about things that the Ghana Police Service has done. It's not to say they are not good, by and large, fantastic, but some elements. And you know why that problem persists? It's because of the political elements, NDC, MPP. When they come, jobs for the boys and girls, criminals are getting into the service, so to speak. Yeah. It's nothing that we can contest. It is the reality. I know somebody back then in a certain neighborhood. He got into the police service and we're all shocked because we knew who this person was. So Ghana Police Service, so stop returning government-acquired lands to original owners. That's Occupy Ghana. They have had their own thoughts on this Achimota issue. $122 million DEK Vaccines company for Ghana to produce 13 different vaccines for Ghana, as well as export them. Kofi Poku is CEO of the DEK Vaccines. Quickly, the Daily Dispatch. It will be bloody if government brings a Japa deal to Parliament. NDC's Nilante says so. And Rawlings wanted his cremated body ashes splashed at Achimota Forest. Anything to bring in the Achimota Forest, right? There's also the Daily Statesman. Fake party cards rock NDC. Aspiring leaders employ tricks to outwit one another. The Chronicle newspaper. Mobile money transactions hit 1 trillion Ghana cedis, up from 155 billion in 2017. And the Accra Times, my final newspaper. Mahama shows gratitude. My country has given me so much and urges NDC faithful to elect a winning flag bearer. And this is how we'll draw the curtains on the news review. But let me just say one more time. Professor Paul Kwame Nyame, chairman of the 10th Board of the Medical and Dental Council, a glorious 82nd birthday to you, sir. On that note, I'm leaving you just for now. Bernice, together with I, will be back when we get into the big stories. But up next, sports. Stay. Thank you for staying with us. This is the AM show. My name is Benjamin Akakwa. I'm here with Bernice Abubeidu Lanza. You will see her shortly, but as we hit our first big story, Ghana beyond aid and now Africa beyond aid. President Akufo-Addo is asking policymakers to reduce the dependence on the West. But how feasible is it in our current state with where we find our economies and with our debt to GDP ratios? Joining the conversation, Samson Asake Awengobed. He is Executive Secretary, Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. Reverend Evans Tremensa is CEO of Agric Impact Ghana. Both of them join us for a conversation. We have others who will join as we go along. But let me say a very good morning to Bernice Abubeidu Lanza. You left me alone here for too long.
I'm sorry about that.
So you'll have to pay for it with lunch. How about that? I'm putting you on the spot on live television.
You know you're sorted, always. Good morning to you. Thank you so much for joining the AM show. Like Benjamin mentioned, we are having a discussion this morning on Africa beyond aid. I know that you may have heard Ghana beyond aid so many times, but now the president believes that it's now time to take this beyond Ghana, make it a continental agenda. And so we'll also be taking your thoughts later in the program on what you make of this agenda. And maybe if you can just tell us how you view the personal agenda of Ghana as a country so far. So, like Benjamin mentioned, the president believes that we must put certain policies in place that will help us achieve that dependence we want as a people. So do stay with us and get onto our Facebook page as well as you get interactive with us, Benjamin.
All right, so let's check out a bit of what Mr. President has been saying. At the 22nd AABD conference, this was on May the 21st, which was just yesterday, being hosted by the University of Professional Studies Accra under the theme Sustainable Development Beyond Aid, the Focus for Africa. The president proposed a Ghana beyond aid vision, urging the creation of a Ghana that is beyond dependence on the charity of others to cater for the needs of its people, but instead engages with other countries competitively through trade and investment. I recall in recent times what he said about sunflower oil, for example. You realize that on the back of what has happened between Ukraine and Russia, there are certain cereals that if we were producing here, we could have harnessed. You know, we get a chunk of our wheat from Russia as well. How has that affected us? And if we had other things that we could use for barter in a way, Morocco, for example, could be giving us some of these commodities while we exchange our sunflower oil or seeds or whatever with them. So those are some of the propositions. But as we explore them, I want us to do this quickly before we get into the studio and also go over Zoom. I am looking at page 5 and beyond of the Ghana Beyond Aid Charter and Strategy document from April 2019. It is always good to give perspective to it because this is from 2019. Where are we now? 2022. So let's just follow what was said on page 5 by Mr. President. This has been my clarion call to you Ghanaians since you accorded me the highest privilege of electing me as your leader. And it goes on, The committee, as Ghana Beyond Aid is concerned, was charged to develop the broad aspirations of Ghana Beyond Aid into a clear vision and strategy that can make Ghana prosperous and take it beyond aid in the shortest possible time. And B, identify the key changes and values, attitudes, and behavior that we Ghanaians have to either reinforce or change in order to ensure that we can effectively implement the strategy. These two things, have we made any inroads? I don't know what your thinking is, but I'm sure when we get into the interactions, you will share. But Samson Asake Awingobit is on with us. Mr. Awingobit, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining.
A very good morning to you, yourself and to your colleagues in the studio. And tell Bernice that it's not only you that she's going to sort out. We equally wake up early morning to take face and take our shower just to speak to Ghanaians, just to engage your good self. So not only Akako is sorted out, your panel as well. We are your children.
But this is an imposition.
Did you hear that? We are your children, indeed. Mr. Awingobit, I hear you. No worries about that.
No worries about that as well.
But you people need to wean yourselves off us and go beyond aid. But let's continue.
That's
a good one.
It should be a collective responsibility. It should be a collective responsibility. It shouldn't be just doing the talking and not doing the walking. I think this country, all what we've been doing is just to do the talking, just do the talking. The president's statement in 2019, just as your colleague has just reiterated, it was very elaborate, it was very flamboyant, but point is 2019 to where we are. Where is the policy?
Okay, so I'll throw that back to you. Importers and exporters, you see it all when it comes to what we produce, what we put out there, and what we bring into the country. What is your perspective about this? Because since 2019, there's been a lot of talk. Now the president is saying, let's do this as Ghana, let's do this as Africa. Your reflection on that?
Thank you very much. I think this is a public policy that the president himself was leading the charter. And I must say that from 2019 till date, let's push it back to the presidency to find out whether who are those stakeholders that the government has been engaged. The committee that was supposed to set up, as we talk about what we were supposed to do, we read about 2 sentences to us this morning. Important Export Association will sit here as a key stakeholder, and I guess we have not had any discussion, be it from the ministry point of view or from the presidency's point of view, to say, okay, this is the identifiable groups. We are inviting them. We are not just coming out with a policy. We like them to be part and parcel of the policy. In this country, the problem that I have observed for a number of years I've been doing advocacy here is that it is when it's about implementation, that is where they need stakeholders to come in. But at the point of preparing, at the point of generating the policy, at the point of doing consultation, at the time that they will say, okay, this is a policy, all of us speak to this, and this is where we are going. They don't find stakeholders being engaged in that. Stakeholders only comes in when it's about implementation. Then when we try to point A, B, C, D, then they think that you have not been patriotic enough. I can tell you that this was elaborate policy, very flamboyant, as I said earlier, and Important Export Association cannot say we will not be part or we will not like the way the government is intended to take the country to. Of course, being on yourself self-sufficient and having surplus to look for other market, as he rightly said, we are now going to trade on African Continental Free Trade. The market is huge. The capital that we are going to raise there is huge. But the point here is, with this policy, has the government taken the pain to engage stakeholders? As I sit here as the executive secretary, I have not, in the bid, had any discussion or engagement concerning what's the way forward. What can the stakeholders do to help government to ascertain government aspirations? So the challenge is not, and I'm quite sure, probably you may have other people from the academia. It is the same thing that applies on African Continental Free Trade. The last time we had the opportunity to engage the Secretary General, from my side and my colleagues from Ghana Union of Trade, the President of Gutta led us to pay a courtesy call to the Secretary General of State. There were certain things that we put before him, and the man sat down. And so it's true. Sometimes they're the technical people. It is only the technical people that comes and discuss. But the people with practicality, the people on the ground, have been left out. I'm quite sure if you move from here, from where you sit, to even your village, I'm not talking about even my village that is far, to your village, and ask the farmers there, what is the opportunity available here? And ask the district there, what are they producing to feed the continental free trade area? What is the authorities, sector like Ghana Export Promotion Authority? If you go to your district, I'm not quite sure you will see even their office there. Perhaps they will tell you go to the regional level. So you ask yourself, how many people, where are the people who are supposed to engage the people to actually understand that this is the policy direction, so that together we go, and not only the president alone.
Okay, just hold it there. Thanks for those initial thoughts. We've heard from Mr. President. He says he wants policymakers to develop policies that will make Africa prosperous, which reflects the document that I just read. He also says the reliance on foreign aid is impeding socio-economic development in the country. And we all agree. The question is, how do we actualize it? Again, I'll source the document. On page 6, it says the committee has responded to this challenge and it has developed Ghana Beyond Aid into a vision based on 5 broad goals. A wealthy, W, inclusive, I, sustainable, S, empowered, E, and resilient Ghana, or in short, a wiser Ghana. Let me bring in the Guta president, Joseph Obeng. Are we on the right footing for a takeoff when it comes to creating this wealthy, inclusive, sustainable, empowered, and resilient Ghana?
Yeah, thank you very much. As far as we are always experiencing deficits in trade deficit, then definitely we are going to have it difficult to achieve all this that we have enumerated. So how do we do this? You know, in Africa, mostly we put politics ahead of economics. And normally, we have over-bloated expenditure. That has been the pain. Because if you have budget deficit, that's where you call in for foreign aid, isn't it? So normally, we source this foreign aid to service the shortfall in our budget. And so, what do we have to do? What is the solution? We have to look at why always our expenditure is over-bloated. The expenditure is over-bloated because we have corruption, and then we lack value for money.
Right.
For our expenses. We do not prioritize our needs. And because of politics, we do so many things at a time. So our budget is over-bloated, and that we cannot finance our budget. And so we have
just to hold it there. So we do so many things at a time. We pump in so many things because this party wants to come and do X, Y, Z when we could focus. That's what you mean.
Exactly. We put politics ahead of economics, and that's how it should be done. And then corruption is so much embedded in this. And so when we have an excessive deficit, then we do not have any alternative than to rely on this aid. If the aid do not come, then we have to go for commercial borrowing. That has been the bane. And so if you do not wean ourselves from this over-bloated expenditure, especially when we have not been able to increase productivity, that will ensure that we have positive trade balance or surplus. Then, of course, we will be reeling in abject poverty.
Very quickly,
the cycle goes on unabated.
Right. Very quickly before Bernice comes in, when you speak about aid, we have internal borrowing and external borrowing. And sometimes internal borrowing, looking at our own interest rates and the rest, it impacts us very negatively because it is also very high. On that tangent, what do you think we can do?
Yeah, everything dwells on expenditure. If you have an over-bloated expenditure and you cannot service the expenditure, then you have to resort to borrowing. I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So, so if you do not manage prudently your expenditure, then if you are not able to wean yourself out of some of the unnecessary things like corruption and then a lack of value for money and the rest. And then you do not prioritize your needs, the things that will enhance on productivity, that will ensure that it will propel the economy. Then you do everything because of politics. You put so many things, and the expenditure is overbloated. Then of course you have nothing else to do than to also borrow money, even commercial money, either outside or inward. When you do that, it means that you've put yourself in perpetual a problem. And so the only way out is to be prudent in management of our expenditure, prioritizing what we need and enhancing on productivity, period. We have to be able to make sure that our productivity is increased. We have to manage so that we do not have continuous deficit in our budget, that we should be able to have a positive balance of trade at all times. In that case, then we are on the threshold of weaning ourselves from foreign aid.
All right, Mr. Obeng, just hold on there for me while I bring in Reverend Evan Stremensa, who is CEO of Agric Impact Ghana. Thank you for joining the program, sir. So we've been at this Ghana Beyond Aid since 2019. Now the president wants to extend his vision to Africa. He thinks that we can do it. He does admit that we have done wrong things in the past and we must begin to right the wrongs. But for you as a CEO of an agribusiness, one of the
farmer as well.
Yeah, and the farmer as well. So one of the major pillars we were told that was going to help us, be self-reliant was to grow more, planting for food and jobs, so that what we are seeing with the Russia situation wouldn't have been if we were able to, mobilize and grow and eat our own. Would you say we have shown a good example? Because from Ghana Beyond Aid, you're going to Africa Beyond Aid. But at this point, do we even have anything to show for to say that we've shown the way as Ghana? It's possible for other African countries. You can focus on the agric sector if you want to.
Thank you very much. The first question I would like to bring out is that let's relate what he said to the realities on the ground. Do we have it? Are we producing our own food? Are we eating our own food? Are we importing or are we exporting more than we are importing? So let's correlate it with our context. What do we have? Are we growing more than we are importing? Okay, so if we are talking about Ghana Beyond Aid, I think that we need to also look at our context. Are we producing more? Are farmers happy on the ground? Are they producing? Do we have fertilizers enough to produce more maize, produce more soya bean? I do cassava. Right now, as I'm talking to you, if you look at the prices of diesel, against mechanization on farms, I mean, it's beyond our strength. So talking about Ghana Beyond Aid, okay, I don't think that it should only just be, in quotes, just pronouncement. There should be an intention approach to realizing that dream and that vision. And I think we should start it from our local level, our context, in growing our own food, in exporting our own food, in trying to reduce our importation demand, the way we import wheat. Why can't we infuse cassava flour into our wheat flour? There's a way we can do it, and we can cut a lot of the importation of wheat. And cassava flour is far better. Nigeria has done it with rice. What can we do with cassava, even rice and maize and corn? So Ghana Beyond Aid is a good vision of the president, but I think that we need to really get to the ground and get it, established. We should work it out on the ground so that we can all feel it. If we come to the local level, are producers producing the corn? Are they producing cassava? Are they producing what we are eating? Or we are importing more than even tomatoes? We import tomatoes almost about $200 million from Burkina. Onion, $199 million. So we need to tackle this first. You know, if you're able to cut tomatoes from Burkina, if you're able to cut onion from Niger, if you're able to cut importation of poultry feed and all that, then we will now begin to say that we are inching there, we are getting there. But when our borrowing is even more, you know, yes, the president of Guta said that our expenditure is even more, you know. Corruption has taken almost everything away. So we need to really have a strategy. We need to have I think that an intention approach to realizing this Ghana beyond aid.
But do you think, to the second leg of the question, have we shown a good example? Do we have the right to say that we had a vision, we have put a certain process in place, look at what we have achieved, so the rest of Africa can look to us? Do you think we've gotten to that point?
We are not there yet, but I think that it's a good start from the president saying that we need to do it. Once he has cast the vision, okay, vision must be able to appropriate a lot of things, you know, to make it a reality. So it's good that he has made that call, but going beyond the call, there should be an intention approach. There should be an action towards that to realizing it. So it's a good call. It's a call that is commendable. And then I think that we need to work towards it. It's not just only saying it, but after saying it, we need to get on the ground and make it happen.
Let me go back to the Guta president, sir. So Reverend Tremenso spoke about something, the importation from our neighboring countries. And something struck me. So we are looking at an Africa beyond aid. You know, we don't live in isolation. There definitely will be trade, you know, here and there between ourselves as Africans and all that. How do we build a stronger network system between industries in neighboring African countries? And the AFTA comes to mind. You know, like the EU has done, very strong, very resilient. How do we embed the concept of networking into this Africa beyond aid vision and make sure it works for us? Because like I said, even though we want a Ghana beyond aid, we cannot live in isolation, you know, from the rest of the world. So how do we go about that? Africa coming together to say, let's achieve this together instead of everybody sitting in their, you know, little small corner doing what they want to do.
That's why there's introduction of the continental free trade for the same reason that you are asking this question. But you see here also, you see that they always say that we do intra-trade in Africa of only 15%. And why is it so? It is so because the people of Africa do not consume raw materials, but that we consume finished products. And that's why we have to ensure that we have a lot more value addition to our raw materials. The continental free trade, if it will be a success, then we have to industrialize. We have to make sure that we produce a lot more than what we are always importing. And that is the bane. That has been the bane. But the people of Africa are able to source these needs, the things that is needed for our consumption, not from Africa, but from somewhere else. It is difficult to get these needs from other member countries like Nigeria, Togo, and all that. Anything that we source from these corridors mostly are also imported. So what we have to do is what we have started in Ghana, the 1D, 1F. If we can fast track some of these things, and especially when we concentrate on the areas that we have comparative advantage, then of course, countries will be a hub of those things that they have advantages, they have cost-effective and efficient production, and then we will rely on ourselves, even within a continent. In that case, we will be able to enrich ourselves. But what I would say to this aid and all that, most of us in Africa are very political than economics. So the earlier we depart from that concept and that we become more economic than being political, better. Because lazy economies cannot have a luxurious expenditure. We always want to have a luxury expenditure where we have a lazy economies. And so we have to be able to manage our expenditure, prioritize our needs. In this case, we are thinking about industrialization. So if all our focus will be on adding value to our raw materials, then it is a good priority for us so that in future we'll be able to add value to a lot more of our produce to enhance on our productivity. And that's the only sure way for success. And that will make us rich where we will not depend on other countries. So we are also very proactive, as lately we've been saying. Yesterday at the forum, I said that it's very worrying that the little things that we could have done that to sell in Africa is all being given away to China. They are again doing Gary that we have it in abundance here. Yesterday, the Barbados team that I met said that they import shea butter from China, where we send these products to China. How are we able to also identify markets for some of these areas that we have in abundance?
Mr. Dr. Bing, sorry to interject, but bringing the China example, there are those who say that it's cheaper to process the raw material into a finished product when I take it to China. And so people even go, take the raw material there, because I doubt, as for cassava, I know that they've tried to, but I doubt they have shea trees there. So definitely there is the movement of the raw material from here to China for it to be processed and brought back. Is the environment here conducive enough for businesses to say, look, let's add some quality to the raw materials we have and sell to our own people? Because I speak to business people who tell me, Benes, I can get this per unit 50 pesos when I go to China, but I won't get the same thing here in Ghana.
Yeah, sometimes it's the lack of focus. And that's why I always say that we have to dwell on the areas that we have comparative advantage. Okay. Nobody can tell me processing Gary here is far expensive than processing Gary in China. Never true. Nobody can tell me that when we grow our cocoa here and we add some value to it, it will be more expensive because we have the abundance of the raw material itself, which is a very significant component of production itself. That's the raw material. So the addition is what? Is it machinery? The same machinery cost is the same universally. Whatever machine that is applied in China, the cost is the same. But your advantage is your raw material. So where you have your abundance in raw material and you cannot add the value to it, then you are being lazy.
Right.
And that's what we've been doing, and that's what we are noted for. Nobody can convince me that production of Gary that our mothers do in Volta region, and that Ashanti region, Eastern region, that we have done in abundance, that on the roadside we see, is being overtaken by China. We can't take it. Most times, we do this in abundance, and our people are even able to produce it in abundance by lack of markets. Our trade at the chains are not finding market for some of these products that we have.
Right. So I think I think it is pretty clear the tangent you're pointing to, because there are so many things we could do to stabilize our economy and become self-sufficient on many fronts, but we are not doing that. But just hold for me, Dr. Bing. Let me also rope in economist, senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Patrick Isuming. Doc, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Good morning to viewers and good morning to my fellow panelists.
Right. So we have so many things to digest. Other countries have plans, even on the continent. We'll get to that shortly. But since 2019, we've been talking about a Ghana beyond aid. And when you talk about these things, you would want to set an example before you externalize it, internalize it. I'm looking at the angle of our regional bodies. Yes, we have the AFTA. But even as we have it, we have had the South African Development Community, that is the SADC, the Common Market for Eastern and Southern Africa, ECOWAS as we know it, the Economic Community of Central African States, the AMU, that is the Arab Maghreb Union, the Intergovernmental Authority for Development. All of these exist on the continent. But when it comes to integrated development, as proposed by the ECOWAS chair, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, is it feasible, owing to what you see from the regional bodies and even with the AFTA in Ghana, the Secretariat in Ghana? Is it feasible?
In paper, it's definitely feasible.
On paper?
Yes. I don't think that, having the various regional bodies should necessarily work against having a more integrated Africa in terms of trade and then investment. But because sometimes if, as an ECOWAS sub-region, we were highly integrated and we have institutionalized a lot of the things we do and a lot of our policies. And then all the other subgroups have done that.
Right.
It should have made the overall integration of the continent much easier. So in principle, that shouldn't be. But what we do see is that we have some of the sub-regional groups are way ahead than others. I think in terms of the level of integration,
right?
In terms of the level of cooperation among them. And because of that, I think at the moment we haven't really worked well in terms of trying to harmonize what the different regional groups have done. And it looks like the AFCTA is going to not take that approach. It looks like we are just going to start to broaden up as a whole together. But there's no reason why the regional groups should be an impediment.
All right. So we look at the 15% or so of intra-trade, because a lot of our trade is external. We are trading with China, with Ukraine, with Russia, and all of that. Internally, I mean, you look at even ECOWAS and the 15 or so countries in there. Integration, even movement, has not been exactly what we would have wanted to see. But again, on that same front, when we talk about going beyond aid, there are so many elements to consider. What are some of those that you see that we are not getting right as of now that we really ought to tackle? Because if intra-trade is so limited, can we get it? How much should we advance it before we can say that, look, we're actually going to take advantage of what we have on the continent?
I would say the biggest constraint will be leadership. You have to have a leadership with vision and with a solid plan that is committed to implementing and enforcing the plan. So even though you might have setbacks at some point, you stay the course, and then the plan should be such that it should have buy-in of not just government leaders, you should have buy-in of businesses, and you should have buy-in of the ordinary citizens. It appears that most of the things that happen, it happens at the top, and then it appears that the leaders then want the people to by all means follow whatever it is that they have agreed on. It would have been easier if we started from the bottom up, doing consultative processes and getting the key partners, in particular the businesses and ordinary people, to accept and then or buy into the vision we have. Then we all go with a united front, and everybody accepts that this is the path to go. I don't think we've had that yet. And for that reason, it appears that people are pulling in different directions, and that is just certainly not helping the cause.
Let me just come in here, Doc. Assuming you spoken about the buying of business and the citizens as well. So when it comes to the issue of importation, is demand driven. So it appears a lot of Ghanaians have developed an appetite or a taste for foreign goods, unfortunately. And so I remember during the COVID era, Benjamin, when the president was speaking about eating local food, you realized that even on social media, there were I beg your pardon, there were people who came out to say, I grow local rice, buy from me, and it appeared that it was catching on.
There was that drive, right?
But it's died down now.
Look at poultry. Poultry, we import over $300 million of that. Rice, look at what the Nigerians are doing locally. So, very solid point.
Yeah, so Doc, do you think on that score we have done well? Because we speak about Ghana, Africa Beyond Aid at the policy level, but getting to the people who drive the markets, the consumers themselves, are we doing well to encourage the people to maybe build a taste for local goods? Because there are people who tell you that, look, I won't take your local products because when I put it on the stalls in my shop, they will go for the foreign ones, unfortunately, even though they are sometimes more expensive.
It is a multifaceted thing to address. I think I will still start with leadership and what the leadership is doing. You are right that because of our exposure, because of how our economy has been running for the last 40, 30 years, you know, we've always allowed unfettered access for imports of all kinds of goods into our economy. So if you want to reclaim and make sure that we are now focusing on Ghanaians consuming more locally, it will take a little bit of effort. One thing you have to understand is this. If I, as an individual, I have worked and I've earned my salary, and I'm deciding what I have to buy, is the government cannot force me to buy a local one. But what the collective has, so if Ghanaians have collected our taxes and we decide that we are going to do school feeding, for instance, that is where the government has to lead the way by showing leadership and saying that for this, we are going to support our local farmers and buy local. What that does is that it guarantees a big market for the local producers while they iron out their inefficiencies. So you speak about, Dr. Obiang was talking about nobody saying that it will be cheaper to process gari in China than in Ghana. Even the things that are cheaper in China, they didn't arrive there in one day. It's because
it took quite a while. Right.
The Chinese government made a deliberate policy that we want to encourage this. So when they start, they'll be producing at higher cost. But because they have a plan that over time, if we guarantee them a market, they are going to produce more and produce more efficiently and costs will come down. They persisted. And I think that is the part that our government have not done well, where, you know, we want to buy seats for parliament and we say, let's go to China. It's easier for the government to say, when we are doing public procurement, we are going to use that one to support local businesses than insisting that ordinary people, you know, without showing any leadership, without the demonstration effect. Imagine how Ghanaians will see it if they saw that the president and his leaders are driving Kantanka. It's not just guaranteeing them a market, it's also a demonstration effect, showing the way that, look, even the president is driving this, the president believes in this. It doesn't mean that at the moment it's perfect, but with time, when we give them that market and we allow them to produce for a long time, obviously they will improve. We obviously, while we are doing that, we have to give them basic targets and make sure that they are meeting standards progressively. When we do all of this, over time, we will get there. But at the moment, you know, I think that for me, the biggest problem is that we are not even using the public procurement to support that angle. And that is a major problem.
And you know, you took the wind out of my sail when you brought in Kantanka. I was just about to bring it, mention that the Toyota family and Toyota, and decades ago, they were called, you know, coffins on the streets. Look at them today. And that is what we're failing to do as a country. But I want us to take a quick look before we come back into the studio at grants, because even as we look at our debt system or structure, we also have the grants we've been getting over time. So we're going to look at what we've got since 2013 all the way to 2021. And you can see it on your screens, grants received by Ghana since 2013. You would realize that it's risen, and these are in billions of Ghana cedis. So that's 739 million in 2013, 814 million in 2014. Then in 2015, look at the spike, over 2.69 billion Ghana cedis. It fell in 2016 electoral year, 1.14 billion. And since then, it's been in the one figures, apart from 2019, where it took a dip of right below 1 billion. What would you say, Doc, has been the impact of grants? Are we using them as we ought to? Because this is fundamentally different from contracting loans, isn't it?
Yes, it's difficult to keep track of exactly how we have used these grants because, you know, some of the grants, they come in the pool and then we share it. So it's very difficult to keep track of, you know, that this grant has done specific things, except cases where the grants are tied to specific things that maybe they'll say we are giving you a grant to build COVID-19 rehabilitation center. Those ones are pretty straightforward to do. But the funds that come into to support the budget, the broader pool, then it gets messed up with everything else. And then it's very difficult for you to keep track of what has happened.
Mm. All right, Doc, let me come to our guest in the studio, Reverend Evan Stremmansa, who is a farmer himself, and it brings me back to the issue of what the consumer wants. So for you as a farmer, I'm sure that you may have, you know, heard some of these things about why people would prefer foreign products over local ones. What have you determined as you engage consumers?
I think that consumers are very complicated, but they are complicated because of the taste that we have developed over the years. I still believe that we have every opportunity to make a difference in our agriculture sector. The reason is that we like the Gutta president said, we have to have a strategy of increasing our productivity. And when we have done that, because we have the comparative advantage of production, okay, if we're able to do that, then we go beyond that to add value to it.
I was just going to ask that, have you thought about, because we just had the Gary example, you produce cassava, you farm cassava, have you ever considered adding value to it, packaging it, and what's the cost in there for you?
It's a whole value chain, all right? We have to start from production, then you go to processing, go to distribution, marketing, design, and etc. But I think that what we have to do is that we should, the leadership, the policymakers should have an approach to making our agri sector vibrant. And personally, I don't see it. You know, the reason is that the importation is too much. We are giving so much out. And the more you are importing, what is happening is that you are shrinking your economy. You are giving more jobs to that country. You are giving more dollars to them, all right? And you are also destroying your local farming base. And in that sense, farmers will be discouraged. For example, if I'm producing cassava, okay, and I have a demand for Gary, to supply Gary, definitely the urge to go in for processing will be there. Banks, government could do some kind of soft loan and create the enabling environment for me to be able to secure funding to go into processing of the Gary. But I mean, here is the case. I have the cassava, over 500 acre farm. I produce the cassava, and here's the case. If you don't have the buyer to come and take it, then suddenly within 24 hours, all the cassava will get rotting. So there must be a strategy. I want to see that if you are saying government beyond aid, there should be Ghana beyond aid. The Ghana beyond aid vision must come with a very strong approach to making it happen. We must be able to work it to its logical conclusion. Okay, so there must be a production, we must increase it. There must be processing, there must be distribution, there must be marketing. We must create effective demand for market. As we create effective demand for market, then everybody will be interested in producing. But if I produce and I have nobody to take it, then it means that, first of all, if it's better I didn't even produce. So I believe that we need to add value to everything we are producing. And if we're able to do that, I'm sure that we can be able to have this economic transformation very well on the ground. I don't believe that we should just see it and leave it. We have to have a strong work ethic, and government must have a very strong policy direction towards it. I also believe that politics is taking too much of what Ghanaians can do. We need to sometimes relax on the politics and look beyond the politics and see ourselves as nation builders, that we are here to build the nation together for our children, for our children's children, and all of us must get involved. If we do everything partisan, MPP, NDC, and we are trying to sabotage each other, that what will happen is that at the end of the day, our children will suffer. So we need to go beyond politics to making sure that we are getting our structures and our institutional systems very well, on the ground. For instance, right now I'm talking to you, okay, some of the extension officers across board don't even have logistics. One extension officer is to almost about 2,000 farmers. How can one extension officer go around 2,000 farms?
In a country where agriculture is our backbone.
It's our backbone.
One of our economic
backbone. In a country where we are saying that we want to do Ghana beyond aid, and we have one extension officer to about 1,700 to about 2,000 farmers. It's impossible. So we need to have a very overhauling of our institutional structures in terms of agric. Even now, the agric ministry at the district level, the agric is under the district assemblies. So when fund comes in, the DCE or the MCE must authorize it before they can have the money to move in. And for me, I think that is a very strong constraint to making it effective on the ground. So these are some of the things that we have to look at. So I think that we have a lot of things, we have a lot of issues going on. If we really want to do Ghana beyond aid, policy makers must be effective in making sure that their policies really run to its logical conclusion. And until we are able to do that, we will be speaking about it, we'll be talking about it, but we have effect on the ground.
I get a sense that it should be Ghana beyond partisan politics, and when we succeed at that, then we can achieve Ghana beyond aid.
You just hit the nail on the head. Because you know what happens all the time, we talk about it on the show. As a student of politics, they would tell you that every political party's ambition is to secure power and then propagate its agenda based on what the people are fed into. But you look at our political party system, why we keep flip-flopping in this balance, pendulating, is because the NDC comes and this is my agenda. The MPP comes, this is my... First of all, we don't have a focus nationally. We have it on paper. We have things, and I'll get into what other countries are doing in terms of development plans. Even China, even where it is and what it's rolling out. And we don't seem to get it right because while you can have, typical example, our road network. So many roads have been on the drawing board, on the table. We come, we asphalt a bit. This one does this. There are delays. This one says the contract was bad and this and that. Everything is eroded. We start again. There are roads we've been constructing since the 90s. And that is where the problem is. Again, we come and there are initiatives in education and health, in this and that. We don't want to complete them. We want to start our own. It is an illogical, vicious cycle that we've started.
All because,
and I totally agree.
All because we don't want someone to take the credit for something. So, Tre started it, so if I complete it, then there's a tussle over who did it,
in work ethic, one of the best things, one of the most powerful things is giving your best and not caring who gets the credit. And someday, I pray that our political parties will be able
get to that point.
But let me bring in Samson Asake Awengobit very quickly. So, Mr. President has also been saying on the same, beat. He says, investors, entrepreneurs, you are the ones he's counting on, or we are counting on, to spearhead growth and development in West Africa, especially. Are you ready for that charge? Are you ready for that challenge? And what are the impediments?
Well, thank you very much. I think it is not a bad call. It's a call in the right direction that His Excellency the President is asking. But point is, His Excellency the President, even though guests at the backyard of his house or at the backyard of his country, we've seen how we are using politics to raid or to run down our own entrepreneurs. So which entrepreneurs is he talking about? We cannot go anywhere. The entrepreneurs we are having are Ghanaians first. We cannot simply pretend to use politics to run down a Ghanaian entrepreneur, thinking that he is an NDC or an MPP person. So we have to protect, we have to get a law to protect our own entrepreneurs. You remember that of your colleague media person whose factory was pulled down at the trade fair just because they wanted to develop it. Up to date, is a trade fair being developed. We have seen how some of our financial institutions, which were doing very well, that was just closed down, and then they asked importers to pay the percentage to help government to recover what we call the financial service cleaning. Then you ask yourself, are they not the entrepreneurs? Other countries are working hard, are investing to protect our entrepreneurs and help them to grow. In this part of our world, we use politics to crash down our entrepreneurs. So I don't know which one he's talking about, so I am confused as an advocate. The other aspect I want to add, I heard my very good friend, colleague, good morning to him, Dr. Obeng, talked about organic processing narratives. Yes, what our mother used to produce is just to feed a nuclear family. But we are talking a commercialized family, a commercialized production that will have excess to eat, more to eat, and have surplus for export. And so when you listen to the Reverend Mensah, he's talking about cost of even production. The local production alone is so expensive. And so until we look all this, including already market takeoff, because if you look at our rice producers, you go and ask them, where is the rice farm? Where do we have the mills, the mills that they are used to mill the rice? In other jurisdictions, the processing plant is set up close to the rice.
We seem to be losing Samson Asake Awengobit there, but interesting that he brings that in, because that was the agenda with a place like Komenda. And again, interestingly, because you produce in the community, and that's the most sensible thing to do. And that was also the idea behind 1D, 1F.
Yes.
But again, policy implementation, always the problem in this step. But Bernice, let me just bring in, since Samson's connection is bad, let me just bring in Dr. Obeng as we pursue the conversation. Dr. Obeng, so looking at all that we've digested so far, I'm thinking of how we can flip the script when it comes, for example, to the benefits from our natural resources, from gold and the others, in terms of the royalties and other benefits from these resources. What is your take on that? Because that is also one area where we are bleeding, losing so many resources to these Western companies that, yes, they are helping us, but since when? I mean, look at when we discovered oil. What have we done just within the early 2000s to ensure that we have the infrastructure to take over and do our own thing? It appears we've lost Dr. Obeng. So let me just come to Dr. Esuming quickly. So I am looking at a document. I don't want to reference it directly, but we have a plan, so to speak, and we've had Vision 2020 and all of that. When you look at other countries, let me just walk you through a list for those watching and Dr. Esuming. Algeria has a national vision for 2030. Bahamas, Vision 2040. Kenya, Vision 2030. Malaysia, a one-time compatriot of Ghana's, Vision 2020. New Zealand, they have a 30-year infrastructure plan. Norway has same, up to 2060. Qatar, where the World Cup will be held, 2030. Saudi Arabia, 2030. South Africa, 2030. South Korea, 2030. Uganda, 2040. Do you see that planning when it comes to development, especially for a country, again, sourcing the same document I'm looking at, which is hoping by 2057 to have a GDP of $3.4 trillion? When you look at everything, are we on the right course?
No, we are not. I think the problem is, as my colleagues have pointed out, is a lack of consensus on something that we all as Ghanaians believe in, that we are going to fight for, rather than this party wants this and this party wants that. You recall that the NDPC came up with a 30-year national development plan. Obviously, the current government has different ideas, and their view is that 30 years is too long, and essentially they shelve that. But I think that is where the problem is. We have to have a Ghana strategy, not a party strategy. If we had something that all Ghanaians believed in, so regardless of who is in power, the approach to carrying out will be what is different. But where we are trying to go, everybody buys in that, everybody believes in that. You can't have a situation where somebody comes and says, I don't believe in this, and we completely shelve that. And it's also part of the reason why we have so many uncompleted and abandoned projects going on around.
And even judgment debts.
And the judgment that comes with it. So I think it has to have something that is a consensus, a point where, it is genuinely something that both sides come to agree. And sometimes it's something that maybe something like Ghanaians are the ones who have to demand of them.
But these leaders are Ghanaian. So are you suggesting then that we should find a way, maybe civil society, leadership, the National Peace Council, among others, come together and sort of force the two major political parties, because like it or not, they are the ones who in the Fourth Republic have ruled us, MPP and NDC, and tell them, we as a people, these are our aspirations. No matter your political party, whatever agenda, we want you to feed into this plan over the next 20 years, for example. Is that what we ought to do? Is that what you're saying?
Yes. We need something that is not necessarily driven by party agenda, but a Ghana agenda. That the only thing that the parties have is, okay, this is the goal, this is what we have to do, these are the targets. Maybe there's some variation in terms of the approach, where we want to emphasize first and all, but we know that whoever is in power, this is where we are headed, and this is what we are going to do.
Okay. So,
and then stop too much emphasis on procurement. I think there's too much, we do too many things that are simply driven by procurement, that we need to procure things. Whether they are in our long-term objective or they are going to fulfill our long-term goal or not. So I think that aspect has to stop.
Okay, and I was just about to say that we really shouldn't be doing this, because that is part of the role of the NDPC. But exactly. it simply hasn't worked, because when you look at that institution itself, it has also been, pardon my saying, politicized.
Actually going to ask you whether we do even have
we have a national, we do, but unfortunately, like you said,
they are doing a lot of work actually. But I see politics.
The work is where?
No, I am privy to certain pieces of information, but
where is the work?
It's the implementation, and that's where the politics comes.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah. So, Doc, I mean, in wrapping up our conversation, we'll have to wrap up quickly. I'll come back to take Reverend Tremence's concluding thoughts. But so the president says, look, let's brace ourselves for the challenge. Let's start building the future that we want. Clearly, it's a process, right? And we wouldn't see this, with a snap of a finger or in the twinkling of an eye. There are those who also propound the theory of dependence and argue that the global system has been structured in such a way that it will be very difficult to break off that cycle that has happened for so long. And so there are the world powers who would also want us to remain where we are because there's a certain benefit to them. So this is a real fight. Assuming we have gotten it right from the start and we've put in the right processes, how long do you think, Doc, it will take us before we start seeing the impact of our actions on the ground?
That is a difficult question to answer. I think it's obviously, it depends on the specific things that we are doing. But, you know, I think the premise of your question is that it's not that, you know, people are, you know, our other partners are the ones who will do the hard work for us. It is we ourselves. And we shouldn't think that this is going to be a walk in the park. The global world out there is pretty competitive, and every country is trying to fight and do the best for their citizens. So it is completely on us how we what plans we have, where we want to go, and exactly how we are going to go about it. But generally, it is a series of plans. It is not one plan that will deliver it all. So the one plan will say, by the end of this plan, this is where we will be. That will not be the do it all, feel it all, and then that's not the end goal. All we need to do is that, okay, if we do a series of 5-year development plans or 10-year development plans, you know, at the end of these 10 years, this is where we'll be. Then when that process is ended, based on what we'll be able to achieve and what we couldn't achieve, we start another process where you say, okay, over the next 10 years, given what we have done, these are the targets, and this is where we want to go. So you might have a plan that says, by the end of this plan, we have to be full sufficient. When you are done with that, you might have another plan that says, by the end of this plan, we have to be producing 90% of what you consume. Or, you know, you have to be replacing our imports. Then you have another plan that says, we are going to be self-sufficient in energy. So it is not, you won't have one plan that will help you to achieve everything. That wouldn't really happen.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Dr. Patrick Osumin is a senior lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. So I'm wrapping up with our guest in studio, CEO of Agric Impact Ghana, Reverend Evans Tremensa. So we've had a lot of discussion. So we do this occasionally, anytime the issue of Ghana Beyond Aid comes to the fore. For you, you've spoken about what you'd like to see on the ground. But for you, moving from what the president has said and where we are currently as a country, what will the next realistic step, I want you to be very specific, the next realistic step be in achieving a Ghana Beyond Aid?
Number one, we need to seek self-sufficiency and reliance as an all-round strategy in the long term by producing what we eat, processing it, and distributing it, creating the market linkages for everything. We can use our agricultural sector to transform our economy. And within 10 years, we should be able to see that there must be a deliberate approach to making it happen. We need to overhaul our institutions, for example, like the agri sector. You know, the agri sector should be up and doing. Okay, only supervising farmers and agribusiness is not enough. I want to make this call that the agri ministry should also engage in production. And if they do that, they will feel what farmers are feeling. And I think that they will be able to also understand sometimes the calls that farmers make to them. Because if you are just supervising us, you are not there, you are just supervising us, you are just leading us and managing us. Sometimes what we feel, we may not feel it. So that Greek ministry should be up and doing. They need to be strong on the ground. They need to increase their, their membership. They need to employ more extension officers. They need to provide logistical support to them. Now, I want to make this call that the next thing that will help us be able to go to do this Ghana Beyond Aid is that we need to have a mindset change and an attitudinal change. Our mindset to always depend on foreign goods must change from now. And I think that if we build that kind of attitude, and we need to see leadership show example, that we eat what we are growing, we wear what we are sowing, there are a lot of young people who are creating shoes, who are doing shoe factories and everything. The president must wear Ghanaian shoes, to showcase to everyone that Ghana beyond aid is possible. And as we do that, I think that gradually we'll get there.
Grateful that you could join us, Reverend Evans Tremens. I see you at Great Impact Ghana. And earlier we had Samson Asaki
Awingo-Bit with the Exporters and Importers Association, and also Dr. Joseph Obeng of Guta. But I just wanted to wrap with these comments, Bernice, and I just want you to listen to what we've been saying, and Rev as well. As we conclude the conversation, you see, when the Osajifo Kwame Nkrumah started talking about Africa being independent, he started from home, by liberating us. So let's see what we've been saying. 3 years ago, at the 61st Independence Day celebration, this is what our president said about a Ghana beyond aid. Pay attention. It is time to pursue a path to prosperity and self-respect for our nation. A Ghana beyond aid is a prosperous and self-confident Ghana that is in charge of her economic destiny. A transformed Ghana that is prosperous enough to be beyond needing aid, and that engages competitively with the rest of the world through trade and investment. Though very ambitious, the Ghana Beyond Aid vision is achievable. Other nations with even fewer resources have done it. However, we are not going to achieve the vision of a Ghana Beyond Aid by just talking about it. We have to do something about it. It's the doing part that we are left with. Hopefully, we can get there.
Interesting way to conclude our conversation. You're still on the AM show today. We begin our series on the new patriotic party's internal elections. We're speaking to Charles Bisu, a former presidential staffer and current Western Regional Secretary of the NPP. He wants to unseat John Boadu and become the next General Secretary. Here's his interaction with Kojo Brace, and it airs now.
Welcome to the AM show. We are talking to a very important person within the New Patriotic Party, and someone who is running for the position of the General Secretary of the party. He is someone who was given the opportunity to ensure that we are able to regulate our small-scale mining sector. He and the team did quite a job there, but today they've given it to other people to also continue. We are here to have some chit-chat with him. He's no other person than the man Charles Cromwell Nana Benyin Onya Wonto. That's a name that is fascinating. Onya the Wonto, you cannot buy a brother. Good morning, sir.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. You?
Good, thank you.
Many people do not know that you have a legal background as well. You have a legal background. You've done your PhD.
I'm still pursuing my PhD.
But you have a legal background.
Yes.
Wow.
I did up to the master's in law.
Law level. You're a man of many parts then.
Yes, I am. I try to, because in our society you need to be experienced, and that through the nurturing, my nurturing, I was actually privileged to actually come into contact with a lot of people whom, for example, when I lived in the UK, all the people that I lived with were lecturers in the university. Professor Woodman, who was one of the main architects behind the interstate succession law, PNDC law 111 and all that. He's a white person, but he was married to my auntie, so I lived with him. Alan Dietz, who was also a lecturer, another white person. Professor John Hall, he was head of botany department at the Legon, University of Legon. So all these men, I lived with them, and I learned a lot from them. So I took education very serious when I was in the UK. Because when I went there, I was a young, around 21 years old. And when in that part of the world, you go there and everything was at your disposal. So you can either choose that way or this way. And for the nurturing that I went through with them, they took me through. I think that shaped me as well. Yeah.
What is your memorable achievement at the committee where you were trying to regulate the small-scale mining sector?
Okay, that job itself was, the president stated it in his manifesto, the MPP manifesto, when we're going in the run-up to the 2016 election, that he was going to restructure, sanitize and restructure the artisanal small-scale mining sector. So when Ghanaians actually voted for him and the New Patriotic Party, he appointed me as a presidential staffer, and then we agreed that I have to be measured in terms of my performance and all that. So he gave me that job after it formed a committee comprising of 10 ministers, and then my job was to coordinate all the ministries and the agencies to ensure that we sanitize the artisanal and small-scale mining sector, and then we restructure it. And we did a good job training 4,500 artisanal and small-scale mining workers in Takwa School of Mines. We brought in the drones. We vetted over 1,350 licenses, because hitherto one license owned about 4 concessions, so it was a mess. And then that came about because of bureaucracy, whom and all that, the system here. So the government trying to solve the problem so that it is actually everyone is served. Diligently, and then everyone benefits from what the government is doing. So that was basically some of the jobs that we did. We brought in the European Space Agency to zoom into our concessions to see how devastated they were, and then we brought sanity into it, because most of the excavators were actually retrieved from the mine site. You can attest to the fact that even some of the river bodies were actually getting better. One thing is that the river bodies, you cannot tell how long it took for the destruction or whatever to occur, so you cannot actually put timelines on them. So, but then we did what we have to do, because the mandate was, the committee was an ad hoc one. So once you finish with your job, then it reverts to the various ministries. So now the Lands and Natural Ministry, led by Honorable Abu Jinapo, actually doing it. All we have to do is implement them well, and then ensure that the monitoring is done. We also, during that time, the roadmap that we came up with had the community mining in there, the alternative livelihood plan, how we export gold, the revenue that we generate from there, and all that, access to finance for the miners, the insurance bit. We wanted all the miners to have insurance, and then a whole lot. They were all contained in the roadmap, which is being implemented by the ministry now. So, and I think they're adding some innovative bits to it, but the most important thing is ensuring that the monitoring is done, and then we sustain that, and I think we'll get there.
Yeah, the roadmap had community mining as part of it. How sustainable is that?
Oh, I remember I went to the mining in Daba in South Africa, Cape Town, with the president in 2019, and I had the Deputy Minister of Mines. On that occasion, Ramaphosa, the president, was there, and the Deputy Minister of Mines said that in the diamond sector, the illegal mining is called Zama Zama, their Galamsey, and he said they've adopted the community mining, and that's when I thought, okay, what we're doing here, it's actually being, exported to South Africa, because I worked with a lot of university professors, Professor Kuma, the former Vice Chancellor of UMAT, Professor Mankwa, now the Vice Chancellor, Professor Megbe, Alassane, Yakubu, yes, and then a lot of professors, Professor Simmons, they all came, and then I had Dr. Adwa and Dr. Akrofi, all from tech, and then they came in and worked with us, and they helped in putting the roadmap together. So you had a lot of experts within that, and I commend them, because they didn't even charge the state. When this is more like a consultancy work, where we feel that the system is actually not too good, and then they come in and they said they came in with a nationalistic approach to say that this is for us, and what they did was that I didn't even know their political background. You understand? But we brought them together, and they did the job. because in the interest of Ghana. Now the community mining is very sustainable because what we put together, it involves the chiefs, the district, the investor, and the miners themselves. And I believe that that's what the lands ministry is doing, because following that scandal, I stepped aside for investigations to carry on. So I didn't go closer to anything to do with the committee or the lands ministry. I wanted them to do, I wanted to be seen not to be interfering in anything at all. You know that I'm the first person within the president's government to step aside when when I heard about the allegations came out for them to, and the police exonerated me for that. So I haven't actually gone into it, but I know that what we put down, if implemented to the letter, will benefit all of us, and especially those miners in the rural areas where they do not have other jobs. But then also you realize that if most of the people paid the PNDC law 218, the small-scale mining was actually made to be the preserve of Ghanaians, to create jobs for people. So if you're not, mining is not preserved for you, it's not something that you want to, then there's an alternative livelihood for you within your community. So all that was provided for within that, the roadmap.
Do you feel hurt by how things unfold for you to step aside? Because I know you had certain things you wanted to do in the small-scale mining space. Do you feel what happened really?
You know, I even my PhD, I started my PhD in the industrialization area where the Ghana Beyond Aid, from the colonial era to the current era. That's what my proposal was on, and I started for about 6 months. And then when following the South Africa thing, and then a lot of people from Sweden, Norway, Malawi, they used to come to the Interministerial Committee to interview me and then take it to the country. So I think that's when I realized that no, this thing is a gap that we're filling for people to actually tap into. So I switched my PhD from that to sustainable development, the topic, that's what it is, and then the sustainable development in the small-scale mining sector in Ghana. That's what I'm writing about. So if you say I feel hurt, no, it actually helped me to actually focus on something to help the community. But if you say hurt, I'll use hurt in another sense, in the sense that you were doing a good job for your country. You believe that whatever you're doing was going to inure to the benefit of the masses, and then you were trying to stop people from delving into illegal mining. And then somebody sits somewhere and believes that, no, I have to throw spanners into the wheels to spoil the whole thing. So immediately that was done. It tainted the integrity of the Interministerial Committee and the presidency, and that affected the party and government in winning a lot of seats. And the person who did that is a party person. You understand? Who worked with me and then wanted to indulge us to indulge in illegal mining. I said, no, I'm not going to do that. So eventually I got rid of the person from the office, and the person goes and plans something. And even when the money was not coming from him, coming from somebody else, but he got somebody to accompany somebody, and then just see money being handed over, and then take a photo and sells it to Announce or whatever it is. Or I don't know how the transaction went, and he also goes without verifying it and then sharing it. In our jurisdiction, I think that with my case, I think it's an eye-opener for all of us, civil societies, the various agencies, to delve into matters where in other jurisdictions where you actually film somebody and you think the person is culpable for something, you give it to the various institutions, they investigate it. When the person is found culpable, then you can actually show it to the general public. But you do not go out there and show it and then think that you've disgraced the person for whatever reasons you have behind the scenes to perpetrate, to suit you. I don't think it should be here. So I'm hurt, not for me, but for this happening to my country. And that may deter other people who are given certain positions for them to be assertive in actually or focusing to get something for their country. But if you say I regret it, I do not regret it, because if I'm given that position again, I'll do the same thing 1,000 times.
Why didn't you take him up if you feel he did something that, he accused you falsely?
Oh no, I forgave him. I forgave him because, you know, our society saw what went on. You understand? I forgiven us because everybody saw what went on, and you knew that it was a setup and all that. So it's not up to me. I mean, I have a right to do that, but I don't think what the society has seen is enough for now. Until you know, criminal matters or legal suits, I don't think they have a limitation clause on that. So that can be triggered anytime, but for me, as it stands, I'll leave it. The general public has seen what happened, and that's, I think, is enough.
You campaigned for the MPP in 2016 and 2020, and you were upbeat about how MPP will transform the economy. But this same government is under whose tenure a lot of Ghanaians are complaining of intense or immense hardship.
Okay, first,
how disappointed are you?
No, I'm not disappointed. First of all, we must all admit that the Ghanaian populace have a higher benchmark for MPP. They rate us to do things. They rate the MPP to even go to the moon or do rocket science.
Based on what you tell us?
No, not based on what we tell you. That we've had two political parties. The MPP is the oldest political tradition in the country. Aborigines Right Protection Society, UGCC, the agitation, and then that was formed, and then out of that came the CPP and all that. Dr. Busia came in. So if you look at it, when he did, Busia was there. He planted teak trees, which was the future, which General Rawlings used to, for his electrification project. And then the NDC ruled for about 19 years thereabouts, and then we came and took over. When we took over, the innovative programs that we brought into to bear. If you look at NHIS and free maternity health care, these are social interventional programs that goes to the heart of human development in the country. So that alone, then we had like 23 years, the economic recovery program and all that. There was hunger in 83 and all that. So Ghanaians remembered a lot of things. So when MPP took over, things were a bit difficult, but then eventually took over. It went well because in the second term, I heard that people were being chased with loans here and there. And then we found oil in commercial quantities where the GMPC has been in existence for so many years and couldn't actually find oil. And then you remember under the economic recovery program.
But on that, during the NDC time, Chachu Chikata started the process to find oil.
He started the process.
So you built on it?
No, the GMPC was actually was mandated to do that. He started the process. The NDC for MPP found it, but I mean, if my memory serves me right, it dragged on, and I do not know if he brought the people to find out. The GMPC, that was the mandate of it. How many years was the GMPC set up? How long did it take us? And so how long that the people, the EO group and all that, and Andako, how long did it take them to actually extract it? The MPC had been in existence. I can't remember the years. So and then there was a certain scandal where it's the rice case, you know. So and then salt exploration and all that. So for me, what I gather, I do not have all the facts, but if my memory serves right, maybe the mandate was not being served. Let's put it that way. And then under President Kufuor, we found oil. Now, if you look at the economic recovery program era, most of our state-owned agencies were sold, were diversified. But when we diversified them, we do not have ready markets for them, because the world was actually moving to the private sector being the engine of growth. If you go to the United Kingdom, we have the Leyland, British Gas, all of them, most of these companies were made, Jaguar and all that were diversified, but they had credible or credit-worthy companies to take over. Under the NDC, the DIC, the Diversity Implementation Committee, was formed, but we didn't have ready. So all these companies went defunct. Aborso Glass Factory, Commander Sugar Factory, all of them. Yes. So Kufuor comes in, puts us on a certain pedestal. We have Tallow Oil and all of them coming here, Stellar Logistics and all that. And then when NDC took over again, Stellar Logistics and all those companies moved from Ghana to Ivory Coast. So it means that they couldn't even manage the economy better. And then we came back. under President Akufo-Addo, there's a short-term, medium-term, and long-term plan. Now, we are net importers of most of our commodities into this country. So the prices are determined by external forces. For example, the Russia and Ukraine war. The last time I heard the Russian embassy saying that no, we shouldn't blame the Russian war on our economy. Yes, we have to. I disagree with them, because 10 million barrels of crude oil emanates from Russia. They trade with Germany and all other countries. We import our stuff from there. So the cost of production, if it's higher, it affects us. Cost of freight has tripled. The end user here pays it because we are net importers. That's why the president is saying that let us go industrialization. So far, over 101 D1F has been established. But the point is that you will not see the results in a year. It's a long-term thing. So that is how we have to situate ourselves. When you're doing that, I call it the economic revolution. We'll get there. We keep, likening ourselves to Malaysia, Singapore and all that, but they started industrialization years and years back, and they haven't had what breaks in their governance. We've had a lot of coups and all that. It's the fourth Republican constitution that has actually given us somewhat footing to actually be going forward. But then we've had MPP, NDC, and then it is a recurring thing. But you realize that when MPP comes in, we just push the economy somewhere, and even if it's the hard truth, we have to tell Ghanaians. So the long-term plan being industrialization, and which the government is doing. The short-term is the e-levy that was was made to look like a caricature. Yeah, you see, the e-levy, which the NDC has made look like a caricature. I believe it's a short to long-term plan. For immediately after COVID and all that, you have to look within your economy and actually situate your economy well. So the president said, if you remember or recall, he said he can always bring the economy back, but he cannot bring lives back. It means that there was difficult times ahead because the COVID itself wasn't included in the budget in 2020. It's a force majeure act of God. Nobody knew that was coming. For 9 months there was production, we were paying salaries and all that, but then there was nothing coming in. There wasn't production, we were paying salaries and all that. So your economy will go into recess, just as any other economy. And then once you get back on your feet, you try to rebound it. So that is what it is. So Ghanaians are complaining, yes, the economy is in turbulence, but we as a party and government must show that we have the grit to go for it. That's what exactly the president is doing. Because I believe that if it had been the NDC, they would have come lying to Ghanaians, which they've done before. They'll come in 110 premium and all that. And I've heard President Mahama saying that when he comes back, he's going to repeal the e-levy. You see, it appears to me that when you're sitting in an examination condition, the questions are tough. And when you get out there, it becomes easier. You remember, in our system, we have the June and the NOVDEC. So he wrote the June exams. He's failed. He's going into NOVDEC. He's using the same materials that he failed the June exams with and applying them in NOVDEC. That would not help us because I remember they said that the communication service tax, they were going to take it away when they come back. They never did. And that's exactly the same thing. So we admit that there's turbulence in the economy. The economy will rebound. And I'm happy that it's happened that around this time, not in the year of election, as it happened in 2008, where we had the credit crunch in the run-up to the elections, and then Ghanaians didn't realize that it wasn't just in Ghana, it's a global thing. And the MPP has never been lucky whenever we've come to power, because if you look at the credit crunch, and then this time we're here with the COVID and then the Ukraine war. So I know that the economy will rebound and Ghana will be on a better footing.
Fortunately, all of those things COVID, Russia-Ukraine war is not only specific to Ghana, it's the world.
Yes.
But there's a time we are fighting with people like Sudan, Zimbabwe, Ethiopia, and Angola as the top 5 countries with the highest inflation in Africa. Why can't we be like the Ivory Coast or the South Africa or Nigeria with a better inflation?
Okay, you see, when the COVID came, how did those countries manage it? You understand? We're missing a point. I remember in Togo there was no, I didn't know if there was a ban on on people at public places not wearing nose masks and entering offices and all that. Because I heard that somebody didn't, a certain person said they wanted to come to Ghana because Ghana were managing the COVID well. So if you're managing such a thing, a lot of money goes into it. Nigeria, were they actually giving us the true figure of the number of people who have died? So these countries, if we're actually looking at the inflation and whatever, the hardship and all that, we should go back and see how COVID was managed. You manage something like that with investment, finances go into it. Nigeria, the COVID, I don't think they managed it well because it was free for all. You decide to do what you have to do. In Togo, it was the same. Even in Italy, where they have the best hospitals, about 40,000 people died. In America, about 1 million people died. So we should look at how it happened. And you realize that the same NDC was saying that we spent so much in managing COVID and that we should come and account for it. And the same NDC is saying that inflation is high because you did not manage the economy well. So I'm struggling to understand them.
No, but with how America pumped money into fighting COVID.
Pardon?
With how America pumped money into fighting COVID, they are not even anywhere close to the inflation figures we have.
I'm not comparing our economies to that of America.
Yeah, I'm looking at
that's the developed world. I'm saying that how it was managed. Okay, America. If you look at their population, okay, if 1 million people die, if you look at percentage terms, I cannot work that out now. Okay, so America is in a different league, but a lot of people died. Italy, I believe that the population is not so big. Okay, I cannot recall. I don't have the figure, but I know that with the best hospitals, 40,000 people died. Ghana, did 5,000 people died due to COVID? No. So we put in structures to manage it. And the president said, we can always bring the economy back. So if the president is spending maybe $10 billion, okay, into saving lives, because when you want the economy to rebound, it is the same people. You need a human resource to do that. You understand? So if money has gone into it for us to save the economy, and then we are in turbulence now, and the president said we are going to rebound, and I have to explain that we have a long-term plan, medium-term plan, and then a short-term plan. That is how it has to be. So if inflation is high now, I think it's 23, isn't it? Okay, so the government has come and it's been truthful to Ghanaians that this is where we are. So I am happy that we've told Ghanaians the truth. By next year, if it comes down to a single digit, I'll be happy to speak to Ghanaians. You understand? And that would even help me in campaigning as a member of this party, because it means that this is what it was. When COVID came, we managed to save a lot of lives. The economy went into turbulence. Inflation was up to 23%. Now, because the president said A, B, C, D, we've managed it well, and this is where we are. So that will be my message.
So are you saying that because of how you managed COVID, the monies that you spent is why inflation is where it is today?
No, that's not what I'm saying. It could be one of the factors. Okay, I am saying that COVID was managed well. 2, for 9 months there was no production. Okay, we're paying people. You understand? So ab initio, you have recession when the economy bounces back. The other jurisdictions that the economies are okay. Yeah. They didn't manage COVID the same way as we did.
But how is that related to how much I buy tomatoes today?
Because there wasn't production. If supply is short, supply is short, prices go up, isn't it? So if the supply is not there, it would you would shoot prices up. You understand? And I'm saying that the other countries, they did not manage COVID the same way that we did. So they were going about with their normal business.
So they have supplies.
So they went about their normal businesses at the cost of human lives. You understand? And our president said that we can always bring our economy back, but we can never bring life. So those countries, the people who died, the number of people, can they ever bring them back? No. But the economy is still there. So what the two, which are you going to take money as against life? You understand? So if money has gone into it to save lives, and we have a human resource to rebound, maybe a year or two, those countries will be better off. But in the long run, we'll be better off because we've put in a long-term plan, which is the industrialization drive. So eventually we'll be able to export so that our balance of payment will be stronger, and then we can compete. Our city can be stronger too. So that is how the way to go. And then in the interim, the president comes in with the e-levy, which is a revolutionary economic thing. I mean, economic revolution, I call it, because we need to come up within us. Then this was telling us to go to IMF. So for them, then it means that they do not have any alternative. If it had been them, we would have gone to IMF. And then IMF would give us conditionalities like they did, and they said freeze on public sector workers and all that. And we are not doing that. We said within our economy, we can find the money, even though it is difficult. But then eventually, when the money goes into infrastructure and all those things, it can attract foreign direct investment. It can boom, business can boom, because when you have the infrastructure and all that, businesses are ready to come in, and then in the long run you benefit.
But if you listen to sentiment of Ghanaians, don't you think Ghanaians love to buy tomato for 1 cedi or 50 pesos?
Yeah.
And rather be with IMF than not being with IMF, but to buy tomato, 1 tomato for 2 cedis.
So that's when assertive leadership comes in, okay? Because you know that, I call it that sort of abaye politics. You go to IMF, yeah? And the person is and then buys tomatoes for maybe 20 pesos, and then you are under IMF, and then you're still there, and then you go back every 2 years, 3 years, you go back, and there's a president who's saying that no, let's go the industrialization. Your tomatoes and all that plant can be used to produce certain things here, and then we rather export instead of importing tin tomatoes. Now we have some factories here doing it, but hitherto we imported them. Toothpick, we imported them. Then when COVID came, within ourselves, we managed to actually find things for ourselves to sustain ourselves. So out of that necessity, we became innovative, and then we're doing things here. So yes, somebody might want to even buy tomatoes for 10 pesos. But for us as leaders, we need to educate people and say the Malaysia, the Singapore and all that, they went through the hard way and then got to where they are. So that's how we rule a country.
So you mean going to IMF won't allow you to get to set up factories and all of that?
How many times have we been to IMF, and where have you been to? We've been to IMF so many times, haven't we? And we were where we are. And if you compare to the other countries who haven't been to IMF and then looked within them, they're actually accelerating the economy.
Let's now come to your political ambition.
Yeah. I've heard a lot of people talk. General Secretary, I'm not chastising anybody. We've all done our bit, but every season has its own leader. We've had Ajenim Boateng, Dan Botry, Nano Hininto, Sir John came in, Kwabena Japan. So all these, and then John Wedu. I would liken that to Carl Lewis. When he did 12 seconds, we thought he's the best then, okay? Now, Usain Bolt did under 10 seconds, right? Even women are doing 11 seconds and all that. So it means that there are records to be broken. And I'm saying that every season has its own leader. And so to break the 8 and then go beyond 2024, I'm saying that the message is good, the messages are wrong. It doesn't mean that you're going to throw anybody out. We all have to come together, collaboratively, but it needs to be managed effectively. And there are 3 things that I see in politics: the data, the personality, and the message. A combination of these 3 can win you elections if you actually manage them well.
How upbeat are you about winning the contest?
I am very confident, but I'm not going to be complacent. I'll take the delegates seriously. I will engage them seriously. I'll consult a lot. You've known my style. I listen a lot. If you're not able to listen, you cannot draw strategies. Understand? You cannot make decisions. So a leader who doesn't listen cannot succeed. So I will listen a lot, but then eventually you have to draw the line of being assertive and making decisions. I am very confident that I will, once at the Congress, the party members will vote for me. And when they vote for me, I do not want them to leave me there, because it's a collaborative thing. So the moment they vote for me, it means that another phase of the job starts. We are all working together to achieve 2024. And I believe with God's grace and everything, it would come to pass.
When you go to campaign, doesn't the Galamsey thing come up?
No, because you see, the party people understand that it was a certain party member who orchestrated that against me. So initially, I think the guy was trying to disgrace me, but he actually helped me to have favor before our party members, because it was a few people who orchestrated that, because they wanted to indulge in the galamsey thing. So I haven't been anywhere that people have actually asked me. What people rather say is that, no, you are rather a victim of what shouldn't have happened within our party. So most people see me rather as a victim.
What is the plan after the general secretaryship election?
The plan is to win the 2024 elections. You know, I take each time one day at a time. I did the regional secretary. First, I came for the parliamentary primaries. I lost. And then following 2012 elections, following the court case, I sat back and I saw what was going on. Our pick sheet, the things that I imported, the very ingredients to winning elections. So at that point, I decided I'm not going to go for parliament against, because we can all struggle or fight and won't be in parliament, and then we leave the party behind. So I made a decision to contest for the regional secretary. I won, we brought results and all that. So for me, I think that beyond that, we need to actually solidify the party so that this party is the go-to party within the country for Ghana's development, and then also try and enrich parliament with the party members, because for me, I'm advocating that we actually protect competent MPs, because you see, somebody like Osei Chemin Soboso, he grew through the ranks. Now you can see that he's more like a repository of wisdom for Parliament for us. Afenyo Markin is coming in nicely and all that. And if for somebody like Afenyo Markin, if he's delivering and doing these things, Osei Chemin Soboso, you're doing a good thing for the party and government and Parliament, then somebody goes behind them, tries to dig ducks behind them so that they can unseat them. I don't think it augurs well for us, because then it means that it's a recurring thing. We're not having quality there. So if I'm saying we should protect competent MPs, I'm not saying that we shouldn't vote. We're a democratic party. We believe in the rule of law. But then if we're able to put sanctions or discipline people who do that to MPs who are performing, because when it's like that, the MPs do not have the peace of mind to stay in Parliament. They're always in the constituencies.
But how can you protect MPs with election? When you are electing, you cannot protect them.
That's what I'm saying. The mechanism to protecting them is that they concentrate on their jobs. For example, you see, if the party works with the leadership of Parliament, okay, to say, okay, we need to know the performance of our MPs and all that. And for example, you come to the party office and there's a board outlining each MP's contribution in Parliament and all that, i.e. committee work and all that. It's there for you to see. There's a performance thing. At that point, when the MP is going for another election, I don't think he would even need to campaign, because somebody has, you're the party person, you've seen it in the party offices, that this is the performance of your MP and all that. So they know what you're doing for them. And then in the constituency, the surgery hours, how he does it, and then when and where he does it and all that, that will be taken into account as well. So maybe in the last 6 months, the MP visited maybe 10 times. Maybe it's enough. There's a criteria for it. So it's a mechanism that we are all following. You understand? Through that, you're protecting the MP. Because a lot of people do not know what the MPs do in Parliament. And so somebody comes, lies. I mean, in my region, people come in, my MP has done this, but how are you able to verify? So those party officers who go in, look for other people to unseat MPs and all, they can be dealt with in a way. So, and you cannot deal with them out of a vacuum. There has to be something that we refer to, according to this, according to that. So all I'm saying is that we have to protect them. I'm doing this, I'm saying this, so that it makes the party stronger. When the party is stronger, Parliament is stronger, we enrich it, you understand? So the proper laws are passed for the Ghanaian populace. And then the executive itself is also stronger.
So that's my colleague Kujo Brace interacting with Mr. Bisiu there, who wants to be the next General Secretary of the NPP. Let's move quickly now to around the British High Commission, where my colleague Justice Bedu is standing by. You may have heard of the presence of some wild animals there, and residents there are concerned about their safety. The police released a statement, and we understand that there's police presence around the Wonderworld estate where they are located. My colleague Justice Bedu is there. Hello, Justice. So in that statement by the police, we were told that the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission was going to be contacted for these tigers to be relocated. Are you able to confirm if that has happened?
No, that hasn't happened yet, Bernice. I have been in touch with the Wildlife Division under the Forestry Commission, and I have firm confirmation that they would be at this premises at some point today. We are unsure at what time that would be, but definitely there's that confirmation that this would happen today. And what we also do not know is if they are going to have these animals removed today, because from what they tell me, it is going to be a very long process. So first of all, verifying how these animals were brought into this country, for what purpose, and to be able to identify where they would want to send these animals to. Of course, having to do all of this with the millionaire owner of this estate, who is also known as Cheddar. We haven't seen him yet since we got here. We've been here for more than 30 minutes now, Bernice, but I do know that there would be a team from the Wildlife Division to begin that work today. What I can also tell you is the presence of police, who I understand have been here from last night, since the news broke earlier in the day yesterday about the presence of these animals. We had been here yesterday and had earlier reported about the residents, some of who live here, and had spoken to us off camera about their fear since they got to learn about these animals living with them in this estate, Bernice.
Justice, but were they able to tell you how they got to know that the tigers were in the estate?
So these are tigers that are here. We haven't been given access into the estate because this is a heavily secure area with heavy private security, and now, as I tell you, also police security this morning. And so since news broke from yesterday, we have been here since yesterday and have been denied access into this facility. So we haven't seen these lions, but from yesterday, videos have emerged from within the facility that these are animals that are indeed kept really very close to some of the properties where people are living. And I have had one of the residents who spoke to me on condition of anonymity tell me that they wake up and see these tigers right by their properties, and it is the sight of these tigers that I understand were brought in as baby tigers who have now grown into very huge ones that give these people that sense of fear for their life, because as we understand, tigers are carnivores, and they most likely would be able to harm humans, and so these people have lived in constant fear since they got to know that they were living in close proximity with these animals. We've also not had any confirmations yet whether the owner of these tigers, Cheddar himself, had any legal permit to be able to, first of all, bring these animals in and then also keep them, especially within a residential area like this one. We have seen and read through the wildlife laws this morning, which clearly states that you needed to have had a permit from the chief game officer from that would be at the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission in order that you are able to keep these animals. I have asked officers at the Wildlife Division who tell me they have no idea at all about these particular animals, and so most likely they are unable to confirm whether there are legal permissions have been sought for these animals or not. So that's another angle, Bernice, that we are following up for our viewers all through today on Joy News. Bernice.
You go. Have you had a reaction from the residents since the police came to the area and assured that the animals were going to be relocated?
We haven't seen any of the residents here at all. As I did indicate in my earlier report that I sent, the situation here is one of uneasy calm. This is a very, very serene area on an ordinary day, located in one of the upmarket neighborhoods of Accra, around Ridge, where a lot of very affluent people live. And so it's a sense of greenery, very well made and laid out streets and clean neighborhoods, very, very expensive houses all around, and so on a normal day, it's very, very, you would hardly see people loitering about, and so we haven't had anybody come out at all. But I have been in touch with at least 2 of the residents who live here who have spoken to me that since yesterday they have been offered police protection. Because as news broke yesterday, there was, I understand, some form of confrontation between some of the residents who people here suspected had leaked the information about these tigers to the police and then also to the media. And these people, I understand, had been prevented from entering the premises. And since that happened, they had sought police protection. And as we came here this morning, I've seen a police crew here. I've spoken to the head of the police team who didn't go on record, but they tell me that they had been deployed here to ensure that there is safety, first of all, for the residents between yesterday and until the time that the Wildlife Division comes in to check on these animals and possibly take them away from this residential area. And so, yes, the residents, those that I've spoken with now seem to have a sense of security, but the general mood here in the Wonder World Estate is one of uneasy calm. Bernice.
Justice will leave it here. That's my colleague Justice Beidou joining us from Ridge, and he will stay there and continue to monitor events for us as the police has announced that the Wildlife Division of the Forestry Commission has been contacted for these tigers to be relocated. Indeed, we heard from the owner of the tigers, Nana Kwame Bediako, also known as Freedom Jacob Caesar. He does admit the presence of the tigers, but says that he brought them into the country for the purpose of tourism. And he says he's been in touch with the right authorities. We are yet to figure that out. And we are told that even at this stage, the tigers are still cubs. They are not yet full-grown tigers. So we will keep our eyes on this particular development and let you know what happens. You're watching the AM show with me, Bernice, and my colleague Benjamin will be joining us shortly. Don't forget, we are getting close to that point where you call us to share your thoughts. Today we've been talking about the President's call for an Africa Beyond Aid. We want to find out from you. So far, are you satisfied with what you see on the ground with regards to the Ghana Beyond Aid agenda? And how do you think Ghana and even Africa at large can be at that point where we can say that we are self-sufficient and beyond aid? Do stay with us. We'll be back shortly. Thank you so much for staying on the AM show. So from tigers, we're moving to lions. No, don't panic, not real ones here. The Accra Golden Lions Club is organizing a fundraiser to support the diabetes clinic at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. And I've got two members of the association. Am I okay if I call it an association or a group? Yeah, to share with us why they're doing this and discuss other matters. So on my far left, I've got Lion Kodia Ejikumhini. He is the former president of the Accra Golden Lions Club, and Lion Nehemiah Atiga, who is a service chairperson for that same branch of the group. Welcome, gentlemen. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so why lions? Why do you refer to yourselves as lions? Let me start with you, Mr. Ejikumhini.
Well, Lions, it's an acronym.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an acronym. Liberty, intelligence, our nation's safety. So Lions. So we stand to try and make our environment and the community a better place to live in. Right. That is the aim of the club.
Okay.
I mean, in 1917, a group of businessmen led by Melvin Jones decided that instead of spending their time using their funds to just sit and have drinks and all of that, they are better off helping society and community and improving the lives of the underprivileged. And that's how the Lions Club started.
It's interesting. You spoke about businessmen. So, I mean, I can't join the Lions Club if I'm not a business person?
No, not really. So the club has evolved. I mean, at the time, you had people who had the funds, but now it's evolved into anyone who is willing to commit their time, talent, and treasure.
Okay.
Time to serve communities, talent with the skills you have, even as a media person, and treasure to also improve the lives of the underprivileged. So whether we are focusing on any of our global causes like diabetes or childhood cancer or even hunger relief or the environment, you'd notice that people have to commit one of these three T's to actually improve the lives of communities.
Okay, well, so don't worry, if you want to be a member and you're not yet a business person, there's room for you. But let's talk about the Accra Golden Lions Club, because I know you have over 40 clubs in the country.
Yeah.
And this goes beyond Ghana, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So tell us about the Accra Golden Lions Club.
Well, Accra Golden Lions Club is part of the District 418, that is Ghana. We formerly used to be part of District 403A2, and that includes the Francophone West Africa. And Ghana was the only English-speaking country, Anglophone, together with Sierra Leone. But we opted to be on our own because of language problems. Now, Accra Golden Lions Club was set up initially as a female group. It was called Lioness, Accra Golden Lioness Club. But then it changed because, like I said, it's an acronym. And so men joined. The first group in Ghana was Accra Premier Lions Club.
Okay.
And then came Accra Diamond. Then in 1992, May, Accra Golden officially received the charter to be on its own. And we had the charter president being Lion Sally Wilson Brown. She's still around. She's going to grace.
Oh,
yes.
Wow. I love it.
Yeah.
I love the fact that you're inclusive, because, you know, most of the time some of these associations are very male-centered and male-dominated. So you're 30 years, and have you been with the club since its inception? I won't ask you that question. Mr. Jacob, that question. Have you been with the club since its inception?
Actually, I joined the club after it's been in existence for 7 years.
Okay.
Yeah, so
about
currently
23 years.
Yes, 23. Currently, I'm the oldest active person in the club.
Oh, well done.
But it's evolving. You know, the interest is there.
Okay.
Right. And so long as you have the passion to serve your community, you are always welcome to join us.
So for this 30th anniversary, you've decided to support the diabetes clinic at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Tell us why.
Okay, so we realized that the prevalence of diabetes hovers around 13.9%, and it goes into a number of things that we focus on. So in terms of whether you're going blind, or even the fact that diabetes is a major killer in our society. We went there to engage with them. So we usually do what we call scoping or needs assessment. And so we spoke to the clinic and to find out what they needed. One of the things we saw was how the patients will sit under a canopy, and when it's raining, they get beat up, or sometimes the sun will even hit them. And so what we did was we built a shed for them to sit under. So that was the first thing we did. And then we went further to ask that, so if you moved into your new building, what are the things you need? And critically, they needed a machine to diagnose the eyes. And then they also needed a room to train nurses, because diabetes care is also quite sophisticated and peculiar in a way. So we decided to also look at furnishing the conference room. And the last thing was a therapeutic garden that will give these patients a place to go as part of their recuperating process. And so we, as our legacy project for the 30th anniversary, chose the Kolebu Teaching Hospital as a place that, especially the diabetes clinic, to raise funds and carry out these little projects or different projects that will support the clinic. And it's interesting to note that they said to us that a lot of people come and they don't come back to execute the projects. They just come and ask, what do you need, and that's it. And so we have this strong commitment to ensure that this takes place, and we are hoping that people will join us and support us with their...
I was just going to ask how someone can be a part of this, even if they're not a member of the Lions Club. How do they channel the support?
I mean, I can leave certain phone numbers, but they can also go to the OSU Total and Overhead Total down here, and there are two of our treasurers there who take any funds or any check that they have to support the project. They can also attend our event for a ticket of 100 cedis on Saturday.
This coming Saturday?
Yes. To also come and donate, because, and even after the event, because we are looking at doing this, we don't want to do the project and leave them. The same way we built the eye center at Kolebu, or even in Tema General Hospital, and we've always supported these clinics. We want to continue supporting them. So in everyone, we welcome people coming and supporting us to at least raise the 150,000 cedis that we want to use for this project.
Okay, so just to rehash what's been said, you can go to the OSU Total or the one at the Circle.
In flyover.
And then where again?
Yeah, those two places.
Those two places?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can go there. There are some treasurers there who can pick up your checks if you're willing to support the Lions Club. Do this for the diabetes clinic at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, or you can attend the event tomorrow. Tell us more about the event and when it's happening and what time.
Okay, so it's a black tie event happening at the
Standard Heights.
Standard Heights, yes. At
North Ridge Enclave there. Okay. The Standard Heights is the property of Ghana Standards Authority, and it starts from 5:36 p.m. You know, and a dinner.
Okay, so it will cost you 150 cedis to be
just
part.
The 100 cedis.
Just 100 cedis to be part of this.
The 100 cedis is just for you to come and eat, but we want you to bring your bag of money. Come and give us the funds for Kolebu.
Okay.
As for the 100 cities, just to take care of what you eat and drink.
And so where can we get tickets?
Same places at the Osu Oxford Street Total and the Overhead Total.
Okay, yes. But you said you were going to give us numbers to call. I'll let you sort that out while I ask Mr. Jikumhini a few other questions. So someone is at home and the person thinks, I love this idea. You know, I also want to help the society, but I cannot do it alone. It would be good to join a group of people who are already doing this. How does one join the Lions Club?
Normally we say that it's by introduction from a member. But if you express the desire, a lion may link up with you. Proximity is important. If you're in Accra and you want to join Accra Golden, you will just be invited to attend our meeting any day. We have 2 meetings in a month, the business meeting and the social meeting, and everybody is welcome. It's an open thing. It's not a secret society. Okay. Yeah.
So where do you have these meetings?
We have our meetings on the first Mondays of the month.
Where?
Coconut Grove.
Coconut Grove Hotel.
Okay. Yeah. Just around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, but I just wanted to add that you can just go on social media, whether on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, and look for Ghana Lions or District 418 and send us a message. Somebody will reach out to you and engage you and find out where you live or where you work. Then you'll be pointed to the club that is closer to you or that is convenient for you. Okay. But so Lion Avoca is at Flyover Adaraka Total. His number is 0244 615067. Then Lion Henry Appiah is at Osu Oxford Street Total. 0244 4242. So right. Those are the 2 people you can go to give your donation or even get a ticket and join us on Saturday.
All right, thank you so much for coming to share with us, and wish you all the best in your project to fix the diabetes clinic at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. All the best there. We've been discussing or having this conversation with Lion Nehemiah Atiga, who is with the Accra Golden Lions Club as his service chairperson. He's on my immediate left, and to my far left is Lion Kodia Ejekumhini. He is the former president of the Accra Golden Lions Club. Well, when we come back, we still have more before we have you share your thoughts with us. Ghana is hosting the 31st annual meeting of the Board of Governors of the African Capacity Building Foundation on the 23rd of May 2022. We'll be back to talk more on that. Thank you so much for staying with us. Like I mentioned before we took that quick breather, Ghana is going to be hosting the 31st annual meeting of the Board of Governors of African Capacity Building Foundation on the 23rd of May 2022 at the International Conference Center. Now, the main objective of that meeting is to seek broad policy and strategic direction for the foundation, as well as discuss sustainability issues. Well, I've got with me today Mamadou Bitai. He's Executive Secretary of the Foundation. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope I got your surname right today. Okay, great. Tell us what the foundation is all about.
The African Capacity Building Foundation is an organization that has been created in 1991 by 12 African states with the support of their partners to develop capacity for economic planning, implementation of development projects in a more efficient way on the continent. Since last year, the foundation celebrated its 30th anniversary, and since then the membership has grown from 12 to 40 African member states. In between, the foundation has also been recognized as a specialized institution of the African Union, broadening its mandate to supporting also institutional capacity strengthening of the African Union Commission, of regional economic institutions as well. So the foundation is the premier capacity building partner on the continent.
Is there a reason Ghana gets to host this particular edition of the meeting?
We are always very pleased to be here in Ghana. Currently, as we speak, the chair of our Board of Governors is His Excellency, the Minister of Finance of Ghana, who is hosting us again on the margins of the African Development Bank's annual assembly. But at the same time, Ghana and Accra is home to our West and Central Africa office. So Ghana has been always giving us a good platform to implement our programs, and we are ever grateful to the government of Ghana and the people of Ghana for their hospitality.
We're glad to host you. So tell us exactly what's going to be happening at this meeting with regards to meeting your mandate.
This meeting is going to be very crucial. It's a very important meeting on the ACBF agenda because it's a moment where we exercise our accountability duty to our shareholders, the member nations. It's a moment where we provide the report of our work as a foundation and the value add we have been providing to our member states. But since I'm just taking office 2 weeks ago, it's a crucial meeting for me as well, because it's an opportunity for me to hear from the representative of the states about what the priorities are for them as we are embarking in building or charting our next 5-year strategy, which will start from 2023, which we want to be anchored on the priorities of the member states to help them actually build the capacities they need to fast track the effective implementation of important economic and social transformation in the different countries.
So our president says it's time for Africa to prosper, reduce dependence on foreign aid. And he said this at the opening of the 22nd Academy of African Business and Development Conference here in Ghana. You've said you want to hear from your member states on what they expect, what their priorities are. But let's look at what you've been doing over the years. I mean, in helping the different member states. It's good you mentioned that you've grown from 12 to over 40 now. But what has the impact of the foundation been since its existence in 91, you say?
Yeah, the foundation has brought a tremendous contribution to the African member states. First of all, in building skills, building the human capital. Today, as I meet many senior officials in government, in central banks, ministries of planning, many of them are telling me that actually their doctorate studies have been supported and funded by the ACBF. So in terms of building the human capital, the talent to manage our economic transformation, the foundation has done a lot. The second, it's about institution building, because efficacy of development, transformation is really based on efficient institutions that are able to deliver. And the foundation has contributed to supporting ministries of economic planning to develop national development plans, mobilize resources, building their capacities in terms of resource mobilization. It has also supported national assemblies as well in terms of better legislation, quality legislation. It has also contributed to building other institutions that provide prospective thinking and research. Today, several think tanks that do economic analysis have been supported by the foundation. As a matter of fact, now the foundation is the hub for the African think tank alliance or association.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So the impact has been big, but the story is like a best kept secret story. Obviously, it is important that we tell that story more to the African public.
So what can Africa expect from, I want to believe there's a next phase now, considering that you have even grown in numbers. That growth must definitely translate into some benefit for other African countries, those who are now coming on board. So for you, who's just recently assumed office, what's that vision you're coming with? What should we expect in the next phase of the foundation?
First of all, we ought to really build on the immense impact and value that the foundation has had. We do not do capacity building just for capacity building, but capacity building should be contributing and preparing our governments and people to tackle the big challenges that we are facing today. The impact should be felt on the average citizen. So our mandate is going to be really anchored on continuing to support member states as they implement the vision of the Agenda 2063, making the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Agreement, a reality to boost intra-communitary trade, cross-border trade in Africa, which is actually very low compared to other regions. And obviously, the continent cannot be left back in the accelerated digitization in the world today. 70% of wealth that will be created in the next 10 years is going to be through digital platforms. Africa has to actually ride on that wave of progress to create wealth on its citizens. Okay. So basically, our mandate is going to be really anchoring more our bread and butter, which is capacity building of institutions and individuals, to actually solve and tackle the challenges of Africa's transformation.
If you can, in a minute, as we wrap up this conversation, you've mentioned how you've supported people through scholarships to go study and, come back to their home countries and impact their societies. Beyond that, how else do you support your member states?
We support in different ways. The foundation actually helps countries, first of all, assess their needs in terms of capacity development in general. Second, we support in building capacity development plans that are issue-based. For instance, today, one of the big programs that we have is strengthening the institutional capacities of states in regards to actually science. Another program is in regards to climate change, okay. How Africa can have an understanding of the impacts, have a point of view, have a strong point of view in the COP, in the concept of nations, in particular the upcoming COP27 to be hosted in Egypt, and also advance its agenda and not always actually follow what the international agenda is. So those are very concrete ways that the foundation is helping nations.
I appreciate your time here, sir. Mahmoud Batai is the Executive Secretary of the African Capacity Building Foundation, and we've just been talking about the 31st Annual General Meeting, which will be happening here in Ghana on the 23rd of May. Thank you so much again. We wish you all the best. So you're watching the AM show, and quickly we'll be taking your comments. It's good we had Mr. Mahmoudi here, because today we've been discussing the Africa Beyond Aid agenda, Ghana Beyond Aid, and we've been asking you how you think we can make this realistic for us as Ghanaians and Africans. And I'll be coming to take your thoughts quickly right after this. Thank you so much for staying here. It's been a real pleasure serving you today. And Benjamin and myself, we've had quite
interesting
a
conversation on Africa and
Yeah.
localizing it, Ghana, and how we can move into the next phase of our development. Interesting.
So we'll be able to take about 3 calls. So kindly call us, share with us your thoughts on Ghana or Africa Beyond Aid and how you think we can achieve that. Ben, do you want to announce the numbers?
The number to call 0302 211 619 extension 2. So 691 extension 2. So 0302 211 691 extension 2. Call that number. It will be rolling on your screen, and share your quick thoughts with us. Please, when you call, don't leave your TV on. Don't speak to us from what you hear on the TV. Speak to us on phone. We have our first caller, Bernice.
Frank from Pando. Hello, Frank. Let's hear you quickly, please.
Yes, my advice to the president this morning is no amount of words spoken by the president will make the party any unpopular, but amount of action he descends on the ministers to fulfill their duties will make him very, very popular.
All right.
For example,
Sorry, Frank, we don't have enough time.
Right.
Apologies. Let's take Daniel from Hohoi. Hello, Daniel. How can we achieve an Africa or a Ghana Beyond Aid?
We can achieve that if we embrace truth and we are truthful to ourselves. The hypocrisy in Africa, hypocrisy in Ghana is what will make us not to be self-reliant.
All right. Thank you very much.
We must face the truth.
Let's take Desmond now. Hello, Desmond. Hello, Desmond. We have Desmond from the Upper East region, or do we not? Hello, Desmond.
Yes, please. Good morning.
Good morning. Straight to the point. Your quick thoughts.
Yes, when we are talking about African Beyond Aid, is
No,
unfortunate.
too bad.
Never a good sound, is it?
Yeah, never. Haruna is joining us from Wa. Hello, Haruna. Let's hear you, please. Hello, Haruna. Let's hear your thoughts, please.
We might have
Once
a bug.
again, yeah.
Something
Sorry
going
about
on
that.
with it.
Sorry about that.
Let's try one
my
last time.
contribution is
Okay.
just simple.
Go ahead,
Hello,
Haruna.
can you hear me?
Go ahead.
Like we can't have these who are trying everything to loot and share. Plant how many trees, cut how many trees. How are we going? Where are we going to? Independent when our leaders, everything they are doing, we see corruption and share.
Right. So the point is
mind-boggling.
All right. You're talking about governance issues, corruption. Let's
Yes.
pick our final caller, Hamza in Ashaiman. Hello, Hamza.
Good morning.
Good morning. Your quick thoughts.
Yeah, but with this kind of leaders we are having, I am not sure this question that's on your set will work. There's no way. They just preach, then they do opposite of what they preach. So I am not very sure this will happen. But your question you are asking this morning, with this kind of leaders you are having. Yeah, so thank you. That's my thought.
Right, thank you very much. Hamza is our last caller joining us from Ashaman. And I know that a lot of you have stuff to say. You can get onto our Facebook page and drop your comment. Once it's there, we generate conversations. And we know our leaders listen and they watch. And thank you so much for waking up every day to the program that's worth waking up for. So from Benjamin and myself.
Well, it is goodbye. I wanted to sneak in this birthday bit, but yeah, we might as well just do it. Happy birthday to Mrs. Mary Ifwa Ato, Headmistress JAEC or GAEC Electron Basic Schools. It's from your predecessor, Rose Blankson, Austin, your husband, Mr. Ato, and children Nadede Niama and Christine. Happy birthday to you, madam.
Okie dokie. So we get to get some rest for 2 days.
We get to take a breather. Rest, okay?
Yeah, and we are back on Monday, serving you the very best and what's important to you, you know. And we will always make time to hear your views on what matters most to you.
So on that note, we want to say a fabulous weekend to you. Enjoy. On Monday, we'll be back doing what we do best. From
Please
the two of us,
stay safe.
lovely weekend.
Don't drink and drive. News Desk is up next.